The bullet struck dead center at 400-500 yards while they were still laughing. Margaret Sullivan's hands didn't shake. Her breath didn't catch. She simply lowered the rifle, turned to face the 200 people who'd spent the last hour destroying her, and said nothing. Because 30 years ago, in mountains, nobody talks about silence kept her alive. The Marine Corps captain who'd led the mockery stood frozen, face white as bone. The phone recording her hilarious failure captured something else entirely, the moment America discovered its most lethal sniper had been hiding behind a grocery store register. Before we begin, please subscribe to our channel and stay with us until the end of this remarkable story. Comment below with your city so we can see how far Margaret's story travels across the world. Margaret Sullivan paid her $300 entry fee in cash, counting out worn 20s, while the registration clerk stared at her computer screen like it was showing an error message. "Ma'am, this is the Inter-Service Long-Range Shooting Championship," the clerk said, not unkindly. "Are you sure you're in the right place?" "I'm sure. It's just, most competitors are active-duty military, elite units, Marine Scout snipers, Army Special Forces, Navy SEALs." Margaret met her eyes with the flat calm of someone who'd heard versions of this speech before. "Does it say anywhere that I can't compete?" The clerk's fingers hovered over the keyboard. "No, but..." "Then I'd like to register, please." Behind her, someone laughed. Margaret didn't turn. She'd learned decades ago that turning toward mockery only invited more. The clerk processed her entry. "Lane assignment 23. Qualifier starts at 0900. You'll need to..." "I know the rules," Margaret said quietly. "Thank you." She walked toward the competitor's staging area, her moss green V-neck shirt and faded camouflage pants, drawing stares from clusters of men in their 20s and 30s wearing matching team jerseys covered in sponsor patches. Her blonde hair, tied low and simple, caught morning sun. She carried an old rifle case and a canvas bag. No support team, no spotting partner, no crew. "Jesus Christ," someone said not quietly enough. Someone's mom wandered into the wrong event. More laughter. Margaret found lane 23 and set down her case. The competitor in lane 22 glanced over a younger woman, maybe 30, wearing Marine Corps shooting team colors. "First time competing?" the woman asked. "No." "Oh." A pause. "Which unit are you with?" "I'm retired." "What was your MOS?" Margaret opened her case, revealing a rifle that looked older than most competitors. 92 Yankee. The woman's eyebrows rose. "Supply clerk." "That's right." "And you're competing in a precision rifle championship." Margaret lifted her rifle out, checking it with practiced motions. "Apparently." The woman walked away. Within minutes, Margaret heard whispers spreading through the staging area. Supply clerk, 50-something, ancient rifle, no team. The whispers carried undertones of confusion and barely suppressed amusement. At 0845, a man approached lane 23. Captain Derek Townsend, according to the name tape on his perfectly pressed Marine Corps uniform. 32, broad-shouldered, with the easy confidence of someone who'd never been told he couldn't do something. "Ma'am," he said, voice dripping with false courtesy. "I'm Captain Townsend, 3-time service champion. I wanted to introduce myself and welcome you to the competition." Margaret looked up from her rifle. "Thank you. Can I ask what made you decide to compete? This is a pretty elite field." "I wanted to shoot." "Right, but..." He gestured at the other competitors. "These are the best shooters from every branch. People train years for this, decades. I've been shooting a long time." "In Supply Corps." Something flickered behind Margaret's eyes, too quick to catch. "Here and there." Derek smiled like she'd confirmed something. "Well, good luck. Do your best. That's all anyone can ask." He walked back to his team, 4 other Marines clustered around lane 15. Margaret watched him go, then returned to her rifle. At 0855, the range officer's voice boomed across the facility. "All competitors attend to your lanes. Qualifier begins in 5 minutes, 800 yards, 10 shots. Top 50 advance to tomorrow's competition." 800 yards. Margaret had made shots 5 times that distance, But that was another life, another name, another woman who officially didn't exist. The range officer continued. Wind is 12 miles per hour northwest, temperature 51 degrees. Humidity 63%. Any questions? No one spoke. Shooters ready. Margaret chambered a round, settled into position, pressed her cheek to the stock. Through her scope, the target wavered slightly in morning air. She could see wind patterns in grass between her position and the 800-yard line. Could read thermal variations rising from Earth. Could calculate bullet drop, wind drift, spin drift, Coriolis effect in her sleep, but she didn't adjust for any of it. Range is hot. Begin firing. Margaret squeezed the trigger. The rifle bucked. Through her scope, she watched the bullet impact 4 feet left of target. A clean miss. She worked the bolt, chambered another round, aimed again. This time she missed 3 feet right. By her 5th shot, people were watching. By her 10th, someone was recording on their phone. 10 shots, 10 misses. Not one even touched paper. The range officer approached. "Ma'am, are you having equipment trouble?" "No." "Your rifle's sighted in—" "Yes." He studied her face, seeing something that made him pause. He was older than most officials, late 60s Vietnam veterans, ball-cap eyes that had seen things. His name tape read Samuel. "Would you like to try another rifle?" he asked quietly. "No, thank you. I'd like to continue." "Ma'am, you just fired 10 rounds without a single hit." I understand, but the rules say each competitor gets 10 shots to qualify. I've used mine. Do the rules allow additional attempts?" Samuel hesitated. "Technically, no. You're eliminated." "I see." Margaret began breaking down her rifle movements, mechanical and precise. Around her, other competitors were celebrating qualification. Derek's voice carried across the range. "Did anyone see that 10 shots, 0 hits? That's actually impressive." His team laughed. Samuel watched Margaret's hands steady, practiced, showing none of the frustration he'd expect from someone who'd just humiliated themselves. Those were combat hands. Scarred knuckles. Calluses in specific places that came from very particular activities. "Tell you what," he said, breaking his own rules. "Range is reserved for qualifiers all day. After they finish around 1,500 hours, if you want to come back and practice, I'll stay open." Margaret looked up. "Why? Call it a hunch." She nodded once finished packing her rifle and walked away through a crowd that parted around her like she was invisible. Several people held up phones recording her departure. Someone had already posted highlights to social media with the caption, "Worst shooter in championship history." Derek watched her go. "Participation trophies," he said to his team. "That's what happens when you let anyone register." She probably shot expert qualification once in basic training 30 years ago and thought she'd relive glory days. His spotter, a sergeant named Rodriguez, didn't laugh. She wasn't nervous. "What?" "I was watching through my scope. Her hands didn't shake. Breathing was controlled. Position was solid. She wasn't nervous, she was missing on purpose." Derek snorted. "Why would anyone miss on purpose? That's ridiculous." Rodriguez shrugged. "I'm just saying what I saw." The day continued. 57 competitors advanced to the main event. Scores posted on monitors. Derek led with a perfect 50 out of 50, 10 consecutive bullseyes at 800 yards. His team celebrated with elaborate handshakes and inside jokes. Camera crews interviewed him. He spoke eloquently about preparation training, mental fortitude. No one mentioned the woman who'd missed 10 straight shots, except online where the video had already gone viral. Comments poured in, "Who let grandma compete, LOL. Bless her heart for trying." This is why there should be qualifying standards. Someone's mom having a midlife crisis. By noon, worst shooter ever was trending in 3 states. Margaret didn't see any of it. She'd driven to a diner 15 miles away, ordered coffee, and sat in a back booth staring at nothing. Her hands, those steady, controlled hands, shook slightly around her cup. A waitress approached. "You okay, honey? You look like you've had a rough morning." "I'm fine, thank you." "Anything to eat?" "Just coffee." The waitress lingered. "I know this is forward, but you seem like you're carrying something heavy. My grandma used to say that coffee's better with conversation." Margaret managed a small smile. Your grandma sounds wise, but I'm okay, really. The waitress left. Margaret pulled out her phone, old basic, no internet. She dialed a number from memory. 3 rings. Then, Sullivan residence. Amy, it's Mom. Her daughter's voice cooled instantly. Oh, hi. I wanted to let you know I'm competing today. Well competed. Past tense. Silence. Then, you actually went through with it. Yes. Mom, we talked about this. You don't need to prove anything. Nobody cares about your military service. I care. You were a supply clerk for 12 years. That's fine. That's honorable. But pretending you're some kind of elite shooter it's embarrassing. Margaret's jaw tightened. I wasn't pretending. How'd you do? Not well. Amy sighed, a sound Margaret had heard increasingly often over the past decade. Disappointment mixed with weary resignation. I'm sorry. I know you wanted this. But maybe it's time to accept that some things are better left in the past. Maybe you're right. Are you coming home? Later, I have some things to finish. Mom, I love you, Amy. Give the kids my love. Margaret ended the call before her daughter could respond. She finished her coffee, paid, and drove back to Redstone Range. At 1500 hours, she found Samuel waiting. Wasn't sure you'd come back, he said. Neither was I. He walked her to lane 23. The facility was empty now except for them. Wind had picked up 15 miles per hour, gusting to 20. Clouds moving in from the northwest. You want to tell me what happened this morning? Samuel asked. I missed. Bull. Rodriguez said you were missing on purpose. I believe him. Question is why? Margaret set down her case. Maybe I wanted to understand wind patterns. Samuel's eyes narrowed. 800 yards in variable wind. You spent 10 rounds mapping environmental conditions. That would be expensive practice. Not if you're preparing for something longer. Margaret didn't respond. She assembled her rifle with the smooth efficiency of someone who'd done it thousands of times. Samuel watched her hands move, checking bolt tension, examining firing pin, testing trigger pull. These weren't the actions of a weekend shooter. How old are you? He asked. 55. Military service. 12 years. Army. Honorable discharge 3 years ago. Combat. A pause. No. Supply Corps. I told everyone this morning. Right, Supply Corps. Samuel pulled out his own rifle, an M1 Garand from Vietnam. You know what I did over there, LRRP. Long Range Reconnaissance Patrol. We went where nobody else went, saw things nobody else saw, did things nobody else did. Came home, nobody talked about it. Couldn't. Still can't really. Security classifications that outlast lifetimes. Margaret continued working on her rifle. I'm telling you this, Samuel continued, because I recognize something in you. The way you move, the way you breathe, the way you don't react to stress. That's not Supply Corps. That's operational. You're mistaken. Maybe. But humor an old soldier. Show me what you can really do. Margaret finished assembling her rifle. Why do you care? Because for 68 years I've believed I knew who I was, what I did, what it cost. Then I watched someone walk onto my range and deliberately miss 10 shots to study conditions, and I think maybe I'm not the only one who came home carrying invisible weight. The honesty in his voice cracked something in Margaret's carefully maintained walls. What's the longest distance you have? She asked quietly. Officially 1,200 yards. Unofficially, Samuel smiled. There's a ridge at 4,200 meters, 4,500 yards near enough. GPS confirmed. We use it for equipment testing. Nobody shoots at it seriously, too many variables. Can you set a target? You're joking. Margaret met his eyes. Do I look like I'm joking? Samuel studied her for a long moment. Then he pulled out a radio. Bill, you there? Static. Then, copy. Need you to run out to the 4,500 mark. Set up a high-vis target. The hell for... Just do it, please. Grumbling from the radio, then agreement. While they waited, Samuel asked, 4,500 yards. That's nearly 3 miles. Bullet flight time over 5 seconds. You'd need to account for Earth's rotation. Coriolis effect is negligible at that range, Margaret said. More concerned with wind gradient surface conditions differ from mid-flight. Temperature variation between ground and altitude. Ammunition consistency. Rifle harmonics. Samuel's eyebrows rose. That's not supply corps knowledge. I read a lot. Right, you read a lot. 20 minutes later, Bill's voice crackled. Target's up. Orange marker 4510 by GPS. Samuel pulled out a spotting scope, setting up next to Margaret's position. Even with perfect conditions, that shot's 1 in 1,000. With this wind, 1 in 10,000. Then I'll probably miss. But you won't miss by accident. Margaret smiled, the first genuine expression Samuel had seen. No, I won't. She settled into position, but before she could begin, vehicles pulled into the parking lot. Doors slammed, voices carried across the range. Samuel looked up. Damn, that's Derek's team. The Marines approached Derek in the lead. Samuel, we saw the range was still open. Mind if we get some extra practice? Actually, Who's that? Derek interrupted, noticing Margaret. Recognition dawned. Oh, Miss 10 for 10. Come back for redemption. His team laughed. Margaret didn't look up from her rifle. Derek walked closer. Seriously, what are you doing here? Range is closed. Samuel's supervising me, Margaret said quietly. Supervising what more misses. Rodriguez, Derek's spotter, held up his phone. Captain, you should see this. The video from this morning, it's everywhere. Over 2 million views. Derek took the phone, scrolling through comments. His smile widened. You're famous. Worst shooter in championship history. That's actually kind of impressive in its own way. Margaret chambered around. Derek noticed the spotting scope. Wait, what are you shooting at? The 4,500 mark, Samuel said. Complete silence. Then Derek laughed, genuinely amused rather than mocking. 4,500 yards. That's absurd. That's not shooting, that's lottery ticket physics. Nobody makes that shot except by pure chance. She's going to try, Samuel said. With that rifle. Derek gestured at Margaret's worn Remington 700. That's a hunting rifle. You need custom everything for extreme long range. Match-grade barrel precision optics, hand-loaded ammunition, environmental monitoring. I know what I need, Margaret said. Derek's amusement faded to concern. Ma'am, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but you missed 10 consecutive shots at 800 yards this morning. 4,500 is physically impossible without years of specialized training. Then I'll miss. That's not the point. The point is... He paused, seeming to search for diplomatic words. Look, everyone here respects your service. Supply Corps is important, vital. But precision rifle shooting at extreme distance is a very specific skill set that takes decades to develop. I've been doing this since I was 12, and I wouldn't attempt 4,500 yards without perfect conditions and specialized equipment. Margaret adjusted her scope. Noted. Rodriguez stepped forward. Captain, maybe we should let her shoot. Why? So she can embarrass herself again. Because something's off. Rodriguez looked at Margaret. You're not nervous. You weren't nervous this morning. You're not nervous now. Why? Margaret finally looked up. Would being nervous help? No, but then why waste energy on it? Derek shook his head. This is ridiculous. Samuel, you're encouraging something dangerous. She could hurt herself with that old rifle. The recoil alone. The rifle's fine, Margaret said. And I've handled recoil before. In Supply Corps. A pause brief, but everyone noticed. Here and there, Margaret said again. Derek pulled out his phone. I'm calling the tournament director. This needs official supervision if she's attempting... Don't. Samuel interrupted. This isn't tournament business. This is after-hours practice. After-hours practice at 4,500 yards. That's... Shut up, Derek, Rodriguez said suddenly. Everyone turned. Rodriguez pointed at Margaret. Look at her position. That's not amateur. That's not even good. That's perfect. Bone support structure. Natural point of aim. Breathing synchronized with heartbeat. I've seen that position exactly once from a SEAL sniper instructor demonstrating optimal technique. Derek looked. His expression changed. Margaret had assumed position, body angled, bipod loaded, cheek weld, consistent trigger finger aligned. Every element spoke of thousands of hours of practice. Muscle memory that couldn't be faked. Where did you learn to shoot? Derek asked, voice different now. Margaret's eye was behind the scope. Various places. What places? Difficult ones. Through her scope, the distant orange marker was a tiny dot swimming in mirage effect from heat rising off the valley floor. Wind flags between her position and target showed variable conditions northwest at ground level, but shifting west at altitude. Temperature difference between her position and target would affect air density, changing bullet trajectory. She'd need to account for 5.3 seconds of flight time. In that interval, Earth would rotate slightly beneath the bullet's path. The math was complex. The execution was simple. She'd done it before. Winds 12 to 15, Samuel reported through his spotting scope. Variable, gusting 20 at valley floor. Mirage shows thermal rising from south slope. Margaret nodded. She'd already seen it. Temperature 51 at shooter position, probably 48 at target elevation due to altitude difference. She'd calculated that too. Humidity, 63%, barometric pressure, 29.8. All factored in. This is insane, Derek muttered. She can't possibly. Quiet, Rodriguez said. Let her shoot. Margaret took a breath, released half. Her heartbeat slowed 60 beats per minute, then 55, then 50. A trick learned in mountains where one accelerated heartbeat meant death. The trigger had 3 pounds of pull. She applied 2 pounds, removing slack. Crosshairs steadied. Wind gust passed. She waited. Another gust. She waited. Between gusts, a moment of relative calm. She applied the final pound. The rifle fired. Recoil pushed against her shoulder. Familiar, controlled, barely disturbing her position. Through the scope, she watched the bullet's trace in afternoon air. 5 seconds felt like forever. Samuel watched through his spotting scope. 3 seconds. 4 seconds. 4.5. I see impact, he said suddenly, voice tight. I see dust. She hit Jesus Christ. She hit the ridge. Proximity doesn't count, Derek said quickly, unless she hit the actual marker. Marker's moving, Samuel interrupted. It's tilted. She hit it. She actually hit the goddamn thing. Silence. Then Rodriguez whispered, holy shit. Derek grabbed the spotting scope. Through magnification, the orange marker was clearly visible at 4,500 yards, tilted at a 40-degree angle from direct impact. Bill's voice crackled over radio. Samuel, you seeing this? Copy. Center hit. Dead center. Took a chunk out of the marker and knocked it sideways. I've got the fragment right here. This isn't possible. Nobody makes this shot. Derek slowly lowered the spotting scope. His face had gone pale. Margaret worked the bolt, ejecting the spent casing. She caught it, examined it briefly for pressure signs, then set it aside. Her hands didn't shake. Her breathing remained controlled. She made the rifle safe with practiced motions. Where did you learn to shoot? Derek asked again, barely audible. Margaret stood, beginning to break down her rifle. I told you. Various places. That's not an answer. It's the only one I'm giving. Rodriguez approached slowly, like she might spook. Ma'am, that shot. I've trained with the best shooters in the Marine Corps. SEALs. Delta. Nobody makes that shot on the first attempt. Nobody. I got lucky. That wasn't luck, that was... He stopped, searching for words. That was the most technically proficient shot I've ever witnessed. Wind compensation, elevation adjustment, atmospheric calculation, all executed perfectly under pressure with people watching. That's not lucky. That's operational experience. Margaret continued packing her rifle. Samuel stepped forward. They're going to ask questions. You understand that Derek's team will talk. This will spread. I know. And I'll go home, make dinner, feed my cats, go to bed, wake up tomorrow and stock shelves at Save Mart like I do every day. Nobody's going to believe you're just a grocery clerk now. Margaret smiled sadly. They believed it for 3 years. People believe what makes them comfortable. She picked up her case and bag. Derek blocked her path. Please, he said. I need to understand. This morning you missed 10 consecutive shots at 800 yards. Just now you hit 4,500 on your first attempt. That's not possible unless... Understanding dawned in his eyes. Unless you were missing on purpose. You used those 10 shots to study wind patterns. Margaret met his gaze. Step aside, please. Why let everyone mock you? Why go viral as the worst shooter when you're actually... He gestured helplessly at the distant target. Whatever you are, because nobody watches invisible people, Margaret said quietly. And sometimes invisible is exactly what you need to be. She walked past him, headed for her truck. Rodriguez called after her. Will you compete tomorrow, the actual championship? Margaret paused. I'm eliminated. Didn't qualify. Samuel could reinstate you. Special circumstances. No. Why not? She turned back. In afternoon light, she looked exactly like what she claimed to be a 55-year-old woman in discount clothes, carrying an old rifle heading home to an ordinary life. Because I didn't come here to win, she said. I came to remember who I used to be. Now I have. That's enough. She climbed into her truck, a 15-year-old Ford with rust spots and a failing muffler, started the engine, drove away through gathering dusk. Behind her, Derek's team stood frozen. Rodriguez was the first to speak. Captain, we just witnessed something. I know. That wasn't supply course. That was... I know. Samuel walked over looking troubled. She's running from something, or hiding from something. I recognized the signs. What do we do? Derek asked. Nothing. We respect her choice. She doesn't want recognition. But nothing. That woman carried weight for this country in ways we'll never know. If she wants peace and anonymity, we owe her that. Derek nodded slowly. Then he looked at his phone, the video from this morning, still trending comments, still mocking. I need to make this right, he said. Rodriguez raised an eyebrow. How? Derek started typing. His official social media accounts had over 200,000 followers, military enthusiasts, competition shooters, tactical communities. He composed carefully. This morning, a woman competed in our qualifier and missed 10 consecutive shots. Many people, including myself, mocked her. I was wrong. I witnessed something this afternoon that changed my understanding of strength, skill, and humility. I can't share details, but I can say this. Never judge people by their worst moment. And never assume you understand someone's capabilities based on appearance. I apologize publicly to the woman I disrespected. Her grace under mockery showed more strength than I've ever demonstrated. Signed, a humbled captain who learned something important about honor. He hit post. Rodriguez read over his shoulder. That's good. Vague enough to protect her privacy, specific enough to mean something. It's not enough, but it's what I can do. They packed up their equipment in silence, each processing what they'd witnessed. Samuel stayed behind, watching Margaret's taillights disappear down the highway. He thought about Vietnam, about missions he couldn't discuss, about coming home to a country that didn't want to hear about where he'd been, about spending 50 years as just another veteran indistinguishable from millions of others, about how many Margaret Sullivans might be out there invisible, ordinary, carrying extraordinary secrets. His radio crackled. Samuel, you still there? Copy, Bill. This marker fragment, it's a perfect hit, center mass. I'm measuring bullet impact angle and the calculations. Boss, whoever made this shot accounted for everything. Wind gradient across 3 miles, temperature differential, Earth's rotation. This wasn't lucky. This was science. I know. Who is she? Samuel smiled. Nobody, just somebody who came to shoot. He drove home thinking about the young man he'd been 22 years old, scared and capable and trying to survive. About the woman he'd seen today, 55 years old, calm and competent, and trying to forget. About how war followed soldiers home in ways civilians never understood. Margaret drove the 23 miles to her apartment in silence. The radio stayed off. Her phone stayed in her pocket. She watched highway lines pass, letting her mind drift to nowhere. At a red light, a minivan pulled alongside. 2 kids in the back seat pressed faces against windows, making silly expressions. Margaret waved. They waved back. The light changed. The minivan turned left. Margaret continued straight. Her apartment was in a complex built in the 1970s, weathered siding, cracked parking lot management that didn't ask questions about quiet tenants who paid rent on time. She parked in her assigned spot, carried her rifle case inside. The apartment was small. Efficiency layout. Kitchenette, bathroom, main room with pull-out couch. Exactly $650 per month. She'd lived there for 3 years. 2 cats greeted her, Whiskers and Smoke, both rescues from the local shelter. They wound around her ankles, meowing for dinner. I know, she told them, opening cat food cans. You've been starving all day. Tragic. While they ate, she made herself dinner. Scrambled eggs, toast, orange juice. She ate standing at the counter, looking through her single window at the parking lot. Her phone rang. Amy. Margaret hesitated, then answered. Hi, sweetheart. Mom, what did you do? Amy's voice vibrated with anger. I shot at a range. I told you. I'm looking at a video that's been viewed 3 million times. 3 million. You missing shots while people laugh. Do you understand how humiliating this is? Margaret's jaw tightened. For you or for me? For both of us. My colleagues are asking if that's my mother. My kids' friends are showing them videos at school. I'm sorry you're embarrassed. That's it. That's all you have to say. What do you want me to say, Amy? I want you to explain why you did this. Why you need attention so badly that you'd humiliate yourself publicly. Margaret's hand tightened around the phone. I don't need attention. Then why compete? Why put yourself out there when you knew you couldn't? Amy stopped. Mom, I love you. But this military fantasy has to stop. You were supply corps. That's fine. That's honorable. But pretending you're something you weren't, chasing validation for service that was ordinary. Ordinary? Margaret repeated. Yes. Ordinary. Most service is ordinary. That doesn't make it less valuable. But you don't see other supply clerks competing in elite championships, do you? No. Because they understand their limitations. They accept who they are. Margaret closed her eyes. You're right. I am. Yes, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have competed. I won't do it again. Amy's tone softened slightly. Thank you. I worry about you. You're 55, living alone, working retail, never dating, never socializing. This military thing, it's like you're stuck in the past. Maybe I am. Mom, I'm tired, Amy. Can we talk tomorrow? Silence. Then fine. But please, no more public competitions. No more viral videos. Just live normally. I will. Good night, sweetheart. Good night. Margaret ended the call, stood in her kitchen, looked at her hands, the hands that had just made an impossible shot, the hands her daughter thought belonged to someone ordinary. She pulled out a laptop, old, slow, but functional, opened a browser, searched her own name. The video was everywhere. Worst shooter in championship history. Military veterans' epic failure. Supply clerks' shooting dreams destroyed. The comments were merciless. Should have stayed in supply. Bless her heart. This is sad to watch. Someone please tell her it's okay to just be normal. Margaret read them all. Every single one. Let them sink in, like ballast. Then she searched for Derek's post. Found it. Read his apology. The comments there were different. What happened? Details, please. Captain Townsend doesn't apologize lightly. Something significant occurred. She closed the laptop. Fed the cats again. They'd convinced her they were still starving. Took a shower, changed into sleep clothes, laid down on her pull-out couch. Sleep didn't come. At 020, she got up, made tea, sat by the window. Her phone showed a text from an unknown number. This is Samuel from Redstone Range. If you ever want to talk, my door's open. No judgment, no questions. Just coffee and understanding from someone who's been there. S. She stared at the message for long minutes, then typed back, thank you. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, you're welcome. Get some sleep, soldier. Margaret smiled despite herself, set down her phone, watched darkness outside her window gradually lighten toward dawn. At 05:30, her alarm rang. She silenced it, got up, dressed for work. Moss green polo shirt with Save Mart logo, khaki pants, non-slip shoes. She arrived at Save Mart at 06:15 for her 06:30 shift, let herself in through the employee entrance, punched her time card. "Morning, Margaret," called Frank, the night shift manager, finishing his duties. "Morning. You look tired. Didn't sleep well. Everything okay?" "Fine, just restless." Frank studied her with concern. He was 63, grandfather to 7, kind in the unconscious way of people who'd never needed to be cruel. "You know," he said carefully, "I saw something online last night. Video of a shooting competition. Woman who looked like you." Margaret's hand stilled on her time card. "Wasn't you, though," Frank continued. "Couldn't be. The woman in that video, people were saying terrible things about her. And you'd never put yourself through something like that." Margaret met his eyes, saw kindness there, understanding. "No," she agreed quietly. "I wouldn't." Frank nodded. "That's what I thought. Well, have a good shift. Stock's heavy today, double truck." He left. Margaret walked to the break room, stored her lunch, put on her apron. At exactly 06:30, she clocked in for real, grabbed a box cutter and scanner, headed to aisle 7. Cereal needed restocking. She spent the next 8 hours doing exactly that, restocking shelves, rotating stock, helping customers find items, cleaning spills, processing returns. The work was simple, repetitive, required no thought. That was its blessing and its curse. At 14:30, she took her break, sat in the break room eating a sandwich. 3 other employees were there, talking about weekend plans, complaining about a difficult customer, discussing someone's upcoming wedding. Margaret ate in silence, invisible. One employee, a young man named Jason, looked at his phone and laughed. "Oh man, you guys have to see this. Worst shooter ever. This woman missed 10 straight shots." He held up his phone. Margaret looked at her sandwich. "That's painful to watch," someone said. "Why would she even compete?" "Attention, probably. Everyone wants to be internet famous." Jason scrolled through comments, reading the cruelest ones aloud, laughing. Margaret finished her sandwich, threw away her trash, returned to work. At 15 Huzros, she was restocking soup when her manager, Patricia, approached. "Margaret, can I see you in the office?" Margaret's stomach dropped. She'd been fired before for less. Viral videos created bad publicity. Corporations didn't like employees who attracted negative attention. Of course. Patricia's office was small, windowless, decorated with motivational posters about teamwork and customer service. She gestured to a chair. "I'll stand, thank you." Patricia pulled up something on her computer, turned the monitor. The video. 3.5 million views now. "Is this you?" Patricia asked. No point lying. "Yes." "I see." Patricia watched the video silently. Margaret braced for termination speech. Instead, Patricia said, "My father was military, Army, served in Korea, came home, never talked about it, worked construction for 40 years. When he died, we found medals in a box under his bed, Bronze Star, Purple Heart. He never mentioned them, not once." Margaret said nothing. "He used to tell me," Patricia continued, "that real heroes don't need audiences. They just do their duty and go home. Your father sounds like a good man." He was. Patricia closed the video. "Margaret, you're a good employee, reliable, punctual, kind to customers. Whatever happened at that competition, I don't care. It's your private life. But I want you to know that if anyone here gives you trouble about this video, you come to me immediately. Understood?" Relief flooded through Margaret's chest. "Understood, thank you. Now get back to work. Those soup cans won't stock themselves." Margaret returned to aisle 7. Her hands were shaking, slightly delayed stress response. She steadied them against a shelf. "Excuse me, miss." An elderly woman with a walker stood nearby, holding a can of tomato soup. "Yes, ma'am. Could you reach that cream of mushroom on the top shelf? My arthritis won't let me." Margaret retrieved the can, handed it over. "Thank you, dear. You're very kind." "You're welcome." The woman studied Margaret's face. "You look like you're carrying the weight of the world. Are you all right?" The unexpected kindness from a stranger cracked something inside Margaret's chest. Just a long day. I understand those. I'm 83. I've had a few. She patted Margaret's hand. Whatever you're dealing with, it passes. Everything does eventually. Thank you. The woman smiled and shuffled away, leaving Margaret alone with soup cans and unexpected tears she refused to let fall. The rest of her shift passed in routine blur. At 15:00, she clocked out, changed clothes, drove home. Her phone showed 17 missed calls, all from numbers she didn't recognize, probably media. One voicemail from Amy. "Mom, it's getting worse. People are sending me the video. Please call me back." Margaret deleted it. Another text from Samuel. "Tournament director wants to reinstate you for tomorrow's competition. Special circumstances. Your call, no pressure." She stared at that message for 5 full minutes, then typed, "Thank you, but no, I'm done." His response came immediately. "Understood. Offer stands if you change your mind. You showed real courage today, not just in shooting, but in walking away." Margaret set down her phone, fed the cats, made dinner, ate mechanically. At 21:00, exhausted despite doing nothing particularly strenuous, she laid down. Sleep came quickly this time, and with it, dreams, mountains, snow, wind that cut like knives, a target 3,000 meters away, a mission that couldn't fail, a shot that would save 12 lives or cost them. Margaret woke at 03:00, breathing hard, covered in sweat. The past wasn't done with her yet. She got up, made tea, sat by the window, watching darkness. Tomorrow she'd go to work, stock shelves, help customers, be invisible. But tonight, in the space between sleep and waking, she was someone else. Someone who'd made impossible shots in impossible places for reasons that would stay classified for 27 more years. Someone her daughter would never know. Someone the world had decided was a failure. Someone who understood that the hardest shots weren't the ones you made, they were the ones you walked away from. At 05:30, her alarm rang again. Another day began. Tuesday morning arrived with the kind of cold that makes bones ache. Margaret clocked in at Save Mart at 06:30, same as always, but everything felt different. The break room television was showing morning news, and there on the screen was footage from Redstone Range. "Local woman becomes internet sensation," the anchor said cheerfully, but not for reasons she'd hoped. Frank switched the channel without looking at Margaret. "Weather's coming in. Storm predicted for Thursday." "I heard," Margaret said quietly. Jason walked in, saw her, and had the decency to look embarrassed. "Hey, Margaret, I didn't realize yesterday that was actually you. I'm sorry for... Don't worry about it." "No, seriously. I was being a jerk. My girlfriend pointed out that laughing at someone trying their best is pretty low." Margaret poured coffee with steady hands. Apology accepted. She headed to aisle 12 hardware today. Nails, screws, picture hangers. Mindless work that let her thoughts drift. At 08:15, Patricia found her. "Margaret, there's someone at customer service asking for you." "Did they say who?" "Just that it's important. Personal matter." Margaret's first thought was Amy, but her daughter would call, not visit her workplace. She walked to the front of the store, apron still on, box cutter still clipped to her belt. Samuel stood at the counter, his Vietnam veteran's cap in his hands. "I'm sorry to bother you at work," he said, "but we need to talk. It's urgent." Margaret glanced at Patricia, who nodded. "Take 15 minutes." They walked outside to the parking lot. Morning sun was weak behind gathering clouds. Samuel looked like he hadn't slept. "Derek's post got attention," he said without preamble. "The wrong kind. Military forums, tactical communities, people analyzing your shot. They're calling it impossible, saying it's fake, staged video editing." "Let them." "Margaret, they're digging. Your service record is public basic information anyway. Supply course, 12 years, honorable discharge. But people are noticing things. The precision of your movements in the video, your breathing pattern, the way you handled that rifle. Someone posted a frame-by-frame analysis showing your position was textbook for extreme, long-range shooting." Margaret's jaw tightened. What do you want me to do about it? I want you to understand what's coming. These aren't casual observers. These are professionals who recognize operational tradecraft when they see it. They're going to keep pushing until something breaks. There's nothing to break. Samuel stepped closer, voice dropping. I did some research last night. Called in favors from old Army contacts. Your service record is too clean. No blemishes, no commendations, nothing remarkable. That's unusual for 12 years. Most soldiers accumulate something good. Conduct medals, deployment ribbons, training certifications. Your file reads like a placeholder. Maybe I was unremarkable. Or maybe someone scrubbed your real record and replaced it with cover documentation. Samuel's eyes were sharp. I've seen it before. Black operations, deep cover assets, people who needed to disappear into normal military roles. The paperwork looks legitimate, but feels hollow. Margaret said nothing. I'm not asking you to confirm anything, Samuel continued. I'm warning you that other people are asking questions I already know better than to pursue, and some of those people won't respect boundaries. Thank you for the warning. She turned to go back inside, but Samuel caught her arm gently. One more thing. Derek got a call this morning from a private security company. They want to recruit him for executive protection work overseas. High-paying contract. He asked if they'd contacted anyone else from the competition. And they specifically asked about you, by name. Wanted to know how to reach you, what your background was, whether you'd be interested in contract work. Cold settled into Margaret's stomach. What did Derek tell them? Nothing. Said he didn't know you. But Margaret, if private military contractors are sniffing around, that means someone in the intelligence community is talking. Your shot made noise in circles that don't usually notice civilian competitions. I'll handle it. How? By being boring, uninteresting, not worth their time. Samuel studied her face. You've done this before. Disappeared in plain sight. I stock shelves at a grocery store, Samuel. That's as plain sight as it gets. Until you made a shot that maybe 30 people in the entire world could make. Margaret pulled free from his gentle grip. My break's almost over. Be careful. Whatever you were, whoever you are, there are people who remember, and that shot reminded them you exist. She walked back inside without responding. Patricia was waiting. Everything okay? Family matter, resolved. Good. Can you handle Register 3? Jennifer called in sick. Margaret spent the next 6 hours at checkout scanning items, making small talk, bagging groceries. 100 customers passed through her line. Not one recognized her from the video, or if they did, they said nothing. At 14:45, 15 minutes before end of shift, her phone vibrated. Text from Amy. We need to talk. Tonight, your apartment. I'm bringing David and the kids. David was Amy's husband, accountant, practical, disapproving of anything that disrupted routine. The kids were Emma 12 and Lucas 9. Margaret saw them maybe once a month. She texted back, what time? 18:00. Don't make plans. Margaret clocked out at 15:00, drove home, spent 2 hours cleaning her small apartment and preparing snacks she knew her grandchildren wouldn't eat. At 17:45, she changed into nicer clothes, blouse, slacks, minimal makeup. At 17:58, a knock. Amy entered first, face tight with barely controlled anger. David followed, expression neutral, but eyes judgmental. Emma and Lucas trailed behind, glued to their phones. Hi, Mom, Amy said, voice cool. Hi, sweetheart. David. Kids. Emma looked up briefly. Hey, Grandma. Lucas didn't acknowledge her at all. Everyone sit, Amy said, taking charge like she was conducting a business meeting. We need to discuss what happened. Margaret remained standing. Would anyone like something to drink? Mom, this isn't a social visit. I gathered that. Amy pulled out her phone, opened a video, not the shooting competition, something else. Margaret's stomach dropped as she recognized Derek's face. This was posted 4 hours ago, Amy said, pressing play. Derek spoke directly to camera. I want to clarify something about my earlier post. The woman I referred to, I'm not releasing her name, demonstrated skill that transcends anything I've witnessed in 14 years of competitive shooting. This wasn't luck. This was decades of training at levels most people don't know exist. I apologize for initially judging her, but I also want to say something to anyone dismissing her abilities. You're wrong. Wherever she trained, whatever she did, she earned every bit of expertise she displayed. That's all I'll say. Respect her privacy, honor her service, and remember that heroes don't always look like what you expect. Amy stopped the video. Hero's mom, he called you a hero. He's being kind. Stop it. Amy's voice cracked. Stop pretending I've spent my entire adult life believing you were Supply Corps, ordinary service, honorable but unremarkable. Now people are saying you're some kind of elite operator, that the service record I've always known is fake. Margaret looked at David, who was watching her with new calculation in his eyes. Amy, can we talk alone? No. David's my husband. The kids deserve to know who their grandmother really is. They're children. They're old enough to understand lies. Emma looked up from her phone, suddenly interested. Lucas did too. Margaret moved to the window, looking out at the parking lot. I was Supply Corps. That's the truth. The whole truth. A pause. No. Amy stood. Then tell me the whole truth. Right now. No more secrets. Margaret turned. Her daughter's face showed hurt deeper than anger, betrayal that came from years of not knowing. David's expression was harder to read. The children looked confused. I can't, Margaret said quietly. Can't or won't. Both. That's not good enough. It has to be. David spoke for the first time. Margaret, Amy's been crying for 2 days. She feels like she doesn't know you. Like her entire childhood was built on lies. You owe her something. I owe her safety. Information isn't always safe. That's paranoid, David said. That's operational security. The phrase slipped out before Margaret could stop it. Amy's eyes widened. Operational security, she repeated. That's not Supply Corps language. Margaret closed her eyes briefly. Amy, were you CIA Special Forces? What the hell did you really do? I did my job. What job? The one I was assigned. Stop speaking in code. Amy's voice rose. I'm your daughter. I deserve the truth. Margaret looked at her grandchildren. Emma watching with wide eyes, Lucas suddenly paying attention. Not in front of them. Why? What did you do that's so terrible you can't tell your own grandchildren? I protected people. That's all you need to know. How? By doing things that let them sleep safely at night. David stood. Amy, maybe we should go. This isn't... No, Amy interrupted. I've waited 30 years for answers. I'm not leaving without them. She turned back to Margaret. Dad died in Iraq. You enlisted 6 months later. I thought you were grieving, trying to honor his memory. Was that a lie too? Were you already involved in something? Margaret's hands clenched at her sides. Your father's death was real. My grief was real. Everything else was classified, confidential, so secret you couldn't tell your own daughter that her mother was living a double life. I was protecting you. From what? From knowing things that could get you killed. Silence crashed through the apartment. Emma whispered, Mom, can we leave? Amy ignored her. Killed by who? Margaret moved to the door, opened it. I think you should go. No. Answer the question. Who would kill us for knowing about your service? Amy, please. Answer me. People who don't exist in official records. People whose jobs depend on other people staying silent. People who've made careers out of erasing problems. Margaret's voice rose despite her best efforts. Is that what you want to hear? That I spent years in places that officially don't exist, doing things that officially didn't happen for operations that officially never occurred. That the mother you thought was filing paperwork in Kuwait was actually... She stopped, caught herself. Too much said already. Amy stared at her. Was actually what... Margaret's breathing was controlled, but her heart raced. Was actually trying to survive long enough to come home to you. What does that mean? It means exactly what I said. David pulled out his phone. I'm recording this. For Amy's protection. If something happens. Margaret moved faster than a 55-year-old grocery clerk should move. The phone was out of David's hand and on the floor, battery separated from device before he could react. "Don't," she said quietly. "Ever." David's face went pale. How did you?" Margaret picked up the battery, pocketed it. "You'll get this back when you leave." Amy backed away, pulling Emma and Lucas with her. "Mom, you're scaring me." Reality crashed over Margaret. Her daughter was frightened. Of her. The one person she'd sacrificed everything to protect was looking at her like a stranger, like a threat. "I'm sorry," Margaret said, voice breaking. "I never wanted this, any of this. I wanted you to know your mother as someone normal, someone safe, someone who couldn't hurt people with her bare hands if necessary. But that's not who you are." "No, that's not who I was. Who I am now." Margaret gestured at her small apartment, her discount furniture, her ordinary life. "This is who I'm trying to be." Amy shook her head. "I don't know you. I've never known you. You know the parts that matter. I'm your mother. I love you. I would die for you without hesitation. Everything else is just what? Just decades of lies. Just survival." Amy gathered her family toward the door. David retrieved his phone, gave Margaret a wide berth. Emma was crying quietly. Lucas looked terrified. "Don't contact us," Amy said at the door. "Not until you're ready to tell the truth. The whole truth. I won't raise my children around secrets and lies. Amy, please." The door closed. Margaret stood alone in her apartment, listening to footsteps fade down the hallway. Car doors. Engine starting. Tires on pavement. Silence. She walked to the window, watched taillights disappear. Whiskers and smoke wound around her ankles, sensing distress. She picked up Whiskers, held him close, felt him purr against her chest. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. "Hello, Margaret Sullivan." A woman's voice, professional, slight accent Margaret couldn't place. "Who's asking?" "My name is Rachel Chen. I'm a journalist with the Associated Press. I'm doing a story on the viral video from Redstone Range. I'd love to interview you." "Not interested." "I understand your hesitation, but this could be an opportunity to tell your side of the story. Control the narrative. Right now, people are making assumptions. Let them." "Mrs. Sullivan, I've been researching your background. Your service record is remarkably sparse for 12 years of military service. That's unusual. Combined with the shooting expertise you displayed, it raises questions." "Goodbye, Ms. Chen." "Wait, please. I'm not trying to expose you. I'm trying to understand. My brother served in Afghanistan. Came home different. Won't talk about what he did. I've spent 5 years trying to understand what happened to him, and I think stories like yours might help." Margaret hesitated. "I can't help you." "Can't or won't?" "Both. Your brother's silence is his protection. Don't take that from him by digging into mine." She ended the call, blocked the number. Within 10 minutes, 3 more calls from different numbers. All blocked. At 20:00, someone knocked. Margaret looked through the peephole. Louise from her grandmother's ranch, holding a casserole dish. She opened the door. "Miss Maya, sorry, Miss Margaret," Louise said, using her grandmother's pronunciation of her middle name. "Your abuela heard about the video. Sent me with pozole. Said you probably haven't eaten." Despite everything, Margaret smiled. "She's right. Come in." Louise set the dish on her counter. "She also said to tell you that family is family no matter what secrets we carry. Whatever happened with Amy, give her time." "How did she know about Amy?" "Your grandmother knows everything. I've stopped questioning it." Margaret ladled pozole into bowls. They ate in comfortable silence. Louise had served in Iraq, seen combat, came home to work on her grandmother's ranch because cities felt too chaotic. He understood silence. "That shot you made," he said finally, "that was no accident." "No." "Military training?" "Yes." "The kind they don't talk about?" "Yes." Louise nodded. "Thought so. I knew a guy in Ramadi, Marine Scout sniper. could shoot through keyholes at 1,000 yards. Came home, worked construction, never told anyone what he'd done. Then one day, hostage situation at a bank. Police couldn't get a clear shot. This construction worker borrowed a rifle from a cop's trunk and dropped the hostage taker at 300 yards through a 6-inch gap in a door. One shot, no hesitation. Saved 4 lives. What happened to him? Media attention, questions, people digging into his background, found out about classified missions. Security clearances got revoked, lost his pension. Last I heard, he was living off-grid in Montana, hiding from the attention that thanking him for saving lives created. Margaret set down her spoon. Why are you telling me this? Because excellence draws attention and attention draws danger. Your grandmother wanted you to know if you need to disappear for a while, the ranch has space. No questions, no judgment. I can't run. I have work. Work is replaceable. Safety isn't. I'm not in danger. Luis's expression suggested he disagreed but was too polite to argue. The offer stands. Your grandmother says the house where your grandfather Chen lived, the one by the north pasture, it's empty. Been empty since he passed. Could use someone living there, keeping it maintained. Margaret's throat tightened. Her grandfather's house, where he'd taught her to shoot at age 8, where he'd told her stories about precision and patience and the responsibility of skill. I'll think about it, she said. Luis finished his pozole, washed his bowl, headed for the door. Miss Margaret, that video people laughing at you. Your abuela said to tell you that people who've never been tested laugh loudest at those who have. Says you passed a test yesterday that most people don't even know exists. After he left, Margaret sat with her cats and her grandmother's pozole and the weight of decisions pressing down. Her phone buzzed. Text from Samuel. Media's been calling the range. I told them nothing. But Margaret, this isn't going away. Derek's video got picked up by military news sites. People are investigating. Be careful. Another text, this one from an unknown number. We need to talk. I know who you really are. Former colleague. Margaret's blood went cold. Former colleague. That could mean anything, could mean everything. She didn't respond. At 23 Huzzurs, another knock. Margaret checked the peephole, a man she didn't recognize. Mid-40s athletic build, wearing a suit that screamed federal agent. She didn't open the door. Ms. Sullivan, I'm Agent Marcus Webb with Defense Intelligence. I'd like to speak with you about your service record. Marcus Webb. Same last name as Dr. Webb from the range, but this man was younger, harder. Could be coincidence. Could be something else. Come back with a warrant, Margaret called through the door. This is just a conversation. I'm not investigating you. I'm trying to protect you. From what? From people asking questions that could compromise national security, yours and others. Please open the door. Margaret engaged the chain lock, opened the door 3 inches. The man held up credentials, Department of Defense, Defense Intelligence Agency, Special Operations Division. 2 minutes, Margaret said. Your performance at Redstone Range created ripples. The kind of ripples that activate protocols. I'm here to determine whether those protocols need to escalate. I'm a grocery clerk who got lucky with a difficult shot. Ms. Sullivan, I've read your actual service record, not the cover file, the real one. I know exactly what you did and where you did it. I know your call sign. I know your confirmed count. I know why you were extracted early and why you've spent 3 years in deep cover as a civilian. Margaret's hand moved to the door, ready to slam it. I'm not here to expose you, Webb said quickly. I'm here because other people are getting close. Journalists, military bloggers, private contractors. Someone's going to connect the dots. When they do, your cover is blown permanently. That puts you at risk and potentially compromises ongoing operations that used similar methodology. What do you want? I want you to come in, debrief properly. Let us assess the damage and implement countermeasures. We can relocate you, create a new identity, provide protection. I don't want protection. I want to be left alone. That's not an option anymore. You demonstrated capabilities in public that you should have kept private. That's on you. Now we clean up the mess. Margaret stared at him through the 3-inch gap. I'm not coming in. It's not a request. You don't have authority over me. I'm retired. Your retirement was administrative cover. Your contract had clauses. Expired 3 years ago. I fulfilled my obligations. I'm done. Webb's jaw tightened. There are people who won't see it that way. People who'll view your public display as a breach of operational security. People who handle breaches permanently. Is that a threat? It's a warning. Come in voluntarily or come in involuntarily. Your choice. But either way, this conversation is happening in an official capacity. Margaret slammed the door, engaged the deadbolt, listened as Webb stood outside for 30 seconds before walking away. She moved to the window, watched him get into an unmarked sedan drive away. Then she made 3 phone calls. First to her grandmother. Abuela, I need to take you up on that offer. Tonight. I'll prepare the house. Luis will pick you up in 20 minutes. Second to Patricia. I have a family emergency. I need to take leave, maybe a few weeks. Is everything okay? No, but it will be. Third to Samuel. If anyone asks, you don't know where I went. Understand? Understood. Be safe, soldier. Margaret packed quickly. 1 duffel bag, clothes, toiletries, laptop, cash she kept hidden behind her refrigerator. $2,300. Enough to survive for a while. She fed the cats double portions, left a key and a note for her neighbor asking her to feed them until she returned. Luis arrived exactly 20 minutes later, didn't ask questions, loaded her bag into his truck. They drove into darkness away from the city toward her grandmother's ranch 40 miles outside Buffalo. Margaret watched streetlights give way to starlight civilization fade to wilderness. Your abuela says your family, Luis said after 30 minutes of silence. Says family protects family. Whatever you need, we've got your back. I might be bringing trouble. Then we'll handle trouble. They arrived at the ranch at midnight. Her grandmother, Rosa Chen, 83 years old, 5 feet tall, spine like steel, waited on the porch. Margaret got out of the truck. Rosa pulled her into a hug that smelled like wood smoke and lavender. Mija, Rosa whispered. Whatever storm you're running from, it can't reach you here. I'm not sure about that. Then we'll face it together. Come inside. You look like you haven't slept in days. The house was exactly as Margaret remembered. Worn furniture, family photos on every surface, kitchen that always smelled like fresh tortillas. Home in a way her apartment had never been. Rosa made tea while Luis carried Margaret's bag to the North House, her grandfather's old place, quarter-mile from the main house, private and defendable. Tell me what happened, Rosa said, setting down tea. Margaret told her everything, the competition, the video, Amy's visit, the federal agent, all of it spilling out in a rush. Rosa listened without interrupting. When Margaret finished, her grandmother stirred her tea thoughtfully. Your grandfather would be proud, Rosa said finally. Proud I ruined everything. No, mija. You reminded the world that invisible people have power. That's dangerous for those who depend on people staying invisible. But it's necessary. Important. Amy hates me. Amy is scared. Fear masquerades as anger. Give her time. She'll understand. What if she doesn't? Rosa took Margaret's hand. Then you'll love her anyway. That's what mothers do. We love our children even when they don't understand us. Even when they can't. Margaret's eyes filled with tears she'd been holding back for days. I'm so tired, abuela. I know. Sleep now. Tomorrow we'll figure out what comes next. Luis drove Margaret to the North House. It was small, 2 rooms, bathroom, kitchen, but solid. Her grandfather had built it himself in 1967. I'll be in the main barn if you need anything, Luis said. Sleep with your phone on. Any trouble call. I'll be here in 90 seconds. After he left, Margaret walked through the house, touching surfaces her grandfather had touched. His rifle still hung over the mantel, the Remington 700 he'd used to teach her. The same model she'd used at the competition. She pulled it down, checked it. Still maintained, still functional, still deadly in the right hands. At 020, exhausted beyond measure, she finally slept and dreamed of mountains and silence and shots that saved lives nobody knew were in danger. Margaret woke to her phone ringing at 06. Unknown number. She let it go to voicemail. 2 minutes later, another call, then another. She checked the voicemails. First was Rachel Chen, the AP journalist. Ms. Sullivan, I've obtained documents through FOIA requests that show discrepancies in your service record. I'm running the story tomorrow with or without your comment. Please call me. Second voicemail was Agent Webb. Ms. Sullivan, you have 24 hours to contact my office voluntarily. After that, we'll be forced to escalate. This is your final courtesy warning. Third was a voice she didn't recognize, male, slight southern accent. Ghost, it's been a long time. We need to talk about your little performance. You know how to reach me. Do it soon. Ghost. Her call sign. A name exactly 4 people should know, all of them either dead or deep in classified programs. Someone was breaking protocol. Someone who knew her real history was making contact. Margaret deleted all 3 messages, turned off her phone, walked outside into morning cold. Luis was already up working in the barn. He saw her, waved. She waved back but didn't approach. Instead, she walked the perimeter of her grandfather's property, checking sight lines, identifying defensive positions, old habits returning. At 07:00, Rosa appeared on the main house porch. Breakfast, mija. Margaret joined her. Scrambled eggs, fresh tortillas, coffee strong enough to strip paint. They ate in comfortable silence until Rosa said, You're planning something. No. Don't lie to your grandmother. I raised 3 sons and buried 2. I know the look of someone preparing for war. Margaret set down her fork. I'm just being cautious. Cautious is checking locks. You're counting ammunition and mapping escape routes. That's different. How do you... I've been married to a soldier and raised soldiers. You think I don't recognize the signs? Rosa's eyes were sharp. What's coming? I don't know. Maybe nothing. Maybe everything. Then we prepare for everything. Rosa stood, walked to a cabinet, pulled out a lockbox. Inside were papers, deeds, insurance documents, and something else. A satellite phone. Military grade. Your grandfather's, Rosa explained. From his time in Vietnam. Still works. Numbers programmed in are people who owe our family favors. Use them if you need to. Margaret stared at the phone. Why do you have this? Because your grandfather knew that some wars don't end when soldiers come home. He wanted you protected if something happened. He died 10 years ago and left instructions, specific instructions about you, about what to do if you ever came home running. Rosa pushed the phone across the table. He knew, mija. He always knew what you really did. Margaret's throat tightened. He never said anything. He was protecting you, same as you protected Amy, same as I'm protecting you now. Family keeps secrets to keep each other safe. Before Margaret could respond, Luis burst through the door. We've got company. 3 vehicles just turned onto the access road. Black SUVs, moving fast. Margaret grabbed the satellite phone. Her regular phone moved to the window. Through morning light, she could see dust clouds rising from the dirt road leading to the ranch. How long, she asked. 5 minutes. Maybe less. Rosa's face hardened. Luis, get the rifle from the study. Margaret, the north house, there's a crawl space under the floor. Your grandfather built it during the Cold War. Nobody knows about it. I'm not hiding. You're not dying either. Go. Now. Margaret hesitated 1 second, then ran. The north house was 200 yards away. She made it in 40 seconds, found the crawl space access under a rug in the bedroom, dropped down into darkness, just as engines roared into the main yard. Through floor gaps, she heard doors slamming. Voices. Mrs. Chen, I'm Agent Webb with Defense Intelligence. We're looking for Margaret Sullivan. We have reason to believe she's here. Rosa's voice carried from outside. I don't know any Margaret Sullivan. Ma'am, we have surveillance footage showing her arriving here last night. We're not here to cause trouble. We just need to speak with her. About what? That's classified. Is she here or not? Even if I knew someone named Margaret, I wouldn't tell you. My property, my rules. You want to search, get a warrant. Ma'am, this is a matter of national security. Everything's national security these days. Rosa's voice was ice. You're on private land without permission. That's trespassing. You have 30 seconds to leave before I call the sheriff. A different voice, younger, harder. We're not leaving without her. Then Luis. The lady said leave. I suggest you listen. Who are you? Someone who's seen enough federal overreach to know it when I see it. This woman did her duty, came home, wants to be left alone. What's your excuse for harassment? Margaret shifted position, trying to see through floor cracks. She could make out 4 figures, Webb and 3 others, all armed, all professional. Webb said, Mr. Chen, Ramirez, Luis Ramirez. I'm not family. I'm just someone who respects people's rights. Mr. Ramirez, then. We're not here to harass anyone. Margaret Sullivan participated in activities that require follow-up, that's all. What activities? Shooting at a range. That's illegal now. The specifics are classified. Convenient. Everything's classified when you want to intimidate people. Rosa's voice cut through. You're still on my property, still trespassing, and I've already called the sheriff. Deputy Martinez is 3 minutes away. Webb's tone shifted. Mrs. Chen, I understand you're protective, but Margaret is in potential danger. People are looking for her. Bad people. We're trying to help. By showing up with guns and threats, that's help. We're federal agents. We're armed as standard protocol. And I'm an 83-year-old woman who's buried 2 sons who died following federal orders. Forgive me if I'm not impressed by your protocols. Silence. Then Webb. We'll be back with a warrant. You do that. Bring coffee. You'll be waiting a while. Engines started. Tires crunched on gravel. The vehicles left. Margaret waited 5 full minutes before emerging from the crawl space. Rosa and Luis were on the porch. They'll be back, Margaret said. I know, Rosa replied. But not today. Judge Morrison is a friend. He won't issue a warrant without solid evidence of wrongdoing. Buying us time. How much time? Day, maybe 2. Depends how much pressure they can apply. Margaret looked at Luis. You shouldn't be involved in this. If they come back, then I'll be here, Luis interrupted. I didn't survive Fallujah to let federal agents bully an old woman and a veteran trying to live quietly. Margaret's phone buzzed. She'd turned it back on. Text from Samuel. Military bloggers posted your service photo. Someone enhanced it. Compared it to classified mission reports. Margaret, they know. Everyone's going to know soon. She showed the text to Rosa. Then we have less time than we thought, Rosa said calmly. What do you need? To disappear. Really disappear this time. Where? Margaret thought about the satellite phone, about her grandfather's contacts, about networks built during decades of covert operations. I know people, places I can go where questions aren't asked. How soon can you leave? Tonight, but I need something first. What? Proof. Evidence that my cover file is legitimate. That I really was just Supply Corps. If I run without establishing my official story, they'll hunt me forever. But if I can prove I'm nobody interesting. Luis shook his head. You made that shot. You can't prove you're not interesting. No, but I can prove I got lucky. 1 shot out of thousands. Statistical anomaly. Happens occasionally. Rosa's eyes narrowed. You're going to discredit yourself. I'm going to give them a reason to stop looking. Margaret pulled out the satellite phone, dialed a number from memory. It rang 6 times before a voice answered. Secure line. Identify. This is Ghost. Authorization code Tango 7 Whiskey 49. Pause. That code is expired. Check override protocols. Emergency reactivation. Longer pause. Keyboard sounds. Then, code accepted. What do you need? I need my cover file reinforced. Service record, training, documentation, everything. I need it bulletproof against investigation. That's already done. Your file is solid. Not solid enough. Someone's digging. I need additional layers. Medical records showing chronic hand tremors. Psychological evaluations indicating anxiety disorder affecting fine motor control. Range qualification scores showing steady decline over last 5 years. Anything that explains why I'm a terrible shot normally, but got lucky once. You're asking us to make you look incompetent. I'm asking you to make me uninteresting. Can you do it? It'll take 48 hours to backdate everything properly. I have 24. Then it'll be incomplete. Holes someone thorough could find. I'll take incomplete over nothing. Do it. Confirmed. Anything else? Yes. Burn my operational file. All of it. Every mission, every report, every photograph. Make it like I never existed beyond Supply Corps. Silence. That's above my authorization level. Then get someone whose authorization covers it. This is an emergency protocol situation. My cover is compromised. Standard procedure is complete erasure. Hold. Margaret waited, watching Rosa and Luis watch her. The voice returned. Authorization granted. Your operational file will be scrubbed within 12 hours. Your service record will show Supply Corps only. Margaret Sullivan will officially be exactly what her cover claims. Thank you. Ghost, good luck. You earned your retirement. Sorry, it's ending this way. The line went dead. Margaret turned to find Rosa holding a cup of coffee toward her. You just erased yourself. I erased someone who doesn't exist anymore. Margaret Sullivan, grocery clerk, is real. Everything else is smoke. And if they don't believe the smoke, then I run. But at least I'll have official documentation backing my story. Luis's radio crackled. He listened, then looked at Margaret. Sheriff's deputy just called. Says there's been reporters at the ranch gate asking about you. Wants to know if we need him to clear them out. How many reporters? 3, maybe 4. Local news plus someone from CNN. Margaret laughed, bitter, exhausted. CNN. Because a grocery clerk having a bad day at a shooting competition is national news. You're national news because nobody believes you're just a grocery clerk, Rosa said gently. That shot was too perfect. Your composure was too controlled. Everything about you screams professional and people notice. Then I need to unscream it. Margaret pulled out her regular phone, dialed Rachel Chen's number. Chen answered on the first ring. Ms. Sullivan, thank you for calling back. I'll give you an interview, exclusive, but on my terms. I'm listening. Tomorrow, noon. Public location of my choosing. You come alone, no camera crew, no photographers. Just you and a voice recorder. I tell my story once. You print it accurately. Then everyone leaves me alone. I can't promise everyone will leave you alone. But you can print the truth, that I'm a 55-year-old veteran with anxiety disorder who got incredibly lucky with one shot. That I'm not interesting, not special, not worth the attention. Pause. Is that the truth? It's the truth I'm offering. Take it or leave it. I'll take it. Where and when? I'll text you details tomorrow morning. Come alone, Rachel. If I see cameras or other reporters, I disappear permanently. Understood. Thank you for trusting me. Margaret ended the call. Rosa was shaking her head. You're walking into exposure. I'm controlling the narrative before someone else does. If I hide, they make up stories. If I talk, I give them boring truth they can print and move on. What if they don't move on? Then I've bought time to implement Plan B, which is disappear into Mexico. Your cousin in Chihuahua still running that horse ranch. Rosa's eyes widened. You're serious? Completely. I've got cash. I speak Spanish. I can work horses. I disappear into rural Mexico. Nobody's finding me. Luis stepped forward. That's running. You military types are supposed to stand and fight. I spent 12 years fighting. I'm done. Now I just want peace. Her phone buzzed. Text from Amy. Mom, are you okay? Someone from the government came to my house asking about you. David's freaking out. Please call me. Margaret stared at the message. They'd gone to Amy, dragged her daughter deeper into this mess. She dialed. Amy answered immediately. Mom, what's happening? These men said you're involved in something classified. They asked about your time overseas. They showed me documents. Mom, your service record. It has gaps, entire months missing. What does that mean? It means paperwork got lost, military bureaucracy. They said you might be in danger. They said people might come looking for you. Amy, listen carefully. I need you to do exactly what I say. Pack a bag for you and the kids. Go stay with David's parents in Denver. Today. Right now. What? Why? Because I love you and I need you safe while I sort this out. Sort what out, Mom? You're scaring me. I know, I'm sorry, but please trust me. Go to Denver. Stay there for a few days. Don't tell anyone where you're going. Don't post on social media. Just go. This is insane. Amy, Margaret's voice hardened. I have never asked you for anything. I'm asking now, please. Protect my grandchildren by getting them away from this situation until it resolves. Silence. Then, okay, we'll go. But Mom, are you in danger? I'm handling it. I love you. I love you too. Please be careful. Margaret ended the call before her voice could break. Turned to Rosa. They're using my family as leverage. If I don't cooperate, they'll keep pressing Amy until she gives them something they can use. She doesn't know anything. Doesn't matter. They'll make her think she does. They'll interview her repeatedly, ask leading questions, plant doubts. They'll turn my daughter into a weapon against me. Luis checked his watch. It's 0900. You said you're meeting this reporter tomorrow at noon. That's 27 hours. What's the play until then? We prepare. Worst case scenarios. If this interview doesn't work, if they don't buy my story, I need multiple exit strategies. Exit to where? Margaret looked at the mountains rising beyond the ranch. Anywhere but here. They spent the next 6 hours preparing. Luis drove to town, withdrew cash from 3 different banks, $1,500 total Margaret savings. Rosa packed food, water, first aid supplies. Margaret cleaned and checked her grandfather's rifle-loaded magazines, stored them in a waterproof bag. At 15, Huzzaro's headlights appeared on the access road. Not SUVs this time. A single truck. Samuel's truck. He got out slowly, hands visible. Luis met him halfway with a rifle. I'm not here to cause trouble, Samuel called. Just checking on a friend. Margaret stepped out. Let him through, Luis. Samuel approached the porch. He looked older than yesterday, weighed down by something heavy. They came to the range, he said without preamble. Federal agents. Wanted all security footage from the competition. Wanted to know everything about you. I gave them nothing but Margaret. They're not stopping. This is official now. Whatever you did, whoever you were, they're coming after you hard. I know. Derek called me, said his team's been interviewed 3 times. They're being asked about your breathing patterns, your stance, your methodology. They're building a profile. Let them build. Tomorrow I give an interview that dismantles everything they think they know. Samuel shook his head. You can't lie your way out of this. Too many people saw what you did. That shot was impossible for anyone without years of specialized training. Or it was luck, statistical anomaly, one perfect moment out of thousands of attempts. Nobody's going to believe that. They will if I show them evidence, medical records showing tremors, psychological evaluations showing anxiety, failed range qualifications, everything pointing to someone who got lucky exactly once. Samuel studied her face. You're falsifying documents. I'm reinforcing accurate documentation that already exists. That's a distinction without a difference. It's the difference between freedom and being disappeared into a federal facility for debriefing that never ends. Rosa brought coffee. Samuel accepted it gratefully, warming his hands around the cup. I did 3 tours in Vietnam, he said quietly. Came home to people spitting on me in airports. Spent 40 years pretending those tours never happened because talking about them made people uncomfortable. I understand wanting to disappear into normal life. But Margaret, some things don't stay buried. Some things find light no matter how deep you dig. Then I'll dig deeper. Or you'll stop running and own what you did. Whatever it was service. It was duty. Why hide that? Because my daughter is terrified of me. Because my grandchildren won't be in the same room as me. Because I want one person in my life who sees me as normal, and I can't have that if everyone knows what I'm capable of. Samuel set down his coffee. My son thinks I was a truck driver in Vietnam. I let him believe that because the truth, what I really did in those jungles, would change how he sees me. I understand protecting family from hard truths. But there's a cost. He'll never really know who his father was. I can live with that cost. Can you? Because from where I'm standing, you look like someone drowning in the weight of secrets. Margaret turned away. I should prepare for tomorrow. One more thing. Samuel pulled out an envelope. Derek wanted me to give you this. Inside was a handwritten letter, Ms. Sullivan. I've been thinking about honor, real honor, not the parade ground kind or the medal ceremony kind, the quiet kind that doesn't need recognition. You showed that kind of honor. You let us mock you, let us laugh. Never defended yourself, never showed anger, just took the abuse and proved yourself when it mattered. That's strength I don't possess. I'm sorry for everything I said. Sorry for the judgment. Sorry for not recognizing a warrior when I saw one. Whatever branch you served and whatever you did, thank you. And if you ever need anything, call me. I owe you that much. Captain Derek Townsend, USMC. Margaret folded the letter carefully, put it in her pocket. Samuel stood. He means it. Kid's learning what real character looks like. You taught him that. I didn't mean to teach anyone anything. Best lessons never are. Samuel headed for his truck, then turned back. Tomorrow when you do that interview, remember that you don't owe anyone explanations. Your service is yours. Your story is yours. Don't let them take that from you by forcing you to deny what you accomplished. After he left, Rosa said, He's right, you know. About what? About the cost of secrets. I kept your grandfather's service quiet for 40 years. When he died, I found journals, stories he never told me, missions that shaped who he was. I'll never know that man. I knew the rancher, the husband, the grandfather, but not the soldier. Not really. Would you have wanted to know? Rosa met her eyes. Yes, even the hard parts, especially the hard parts, because they made him who he was. Same as your hard parts, made you who you are. Margaret sat on the porch steps exhausted. I don't know who I am anymore, Abuela. I spent 12 years being someone else, 3 years pretending to be normal. Now I don't know which is real, the operator or the grocery clerk. Both are real. Both are you. The question is, which one you want to be moving forward? I want to be the woman my daughter isn't afraid of. Then be that woman. But don't erase the warrior to do it. Amy needs time, understanding. She'll come around. What if she doesn't? Then you'll survive that too. You're a survivor, mija. It's what you do. They sat in silence as afternoon faded to evening. Luis brought dinner, simple stew, warm bread. They ate together, 3 people bound by circumstances none of them had chosen. At 21:00, Margaret's phone buzzed. Text from the number that had called earlier, the one who'd used her call sign. Ghost. Stop fighting this. You know how this ends. We take care of our own, but only if you cooperate. Midnight. Coordinates incoming. Come alone or we come for you. Coordinates appeared. A location 15 miles northeast. Abandoned mineworks. Margaret showed the message to Luis and Rosa. It's a trap, Luis said immediately. Probably. Then you're not going. I don't have a choice. If they're really former colleagues, they know things that could destroy whatever cover I'm building. I need to know what they want. They want you dead, Luis said flatly. Or disappeared. Either way, you don't come back. Rosa stood. Then we go with you. No. Mija, I'm too old to be told what I can and can't do. You're family. Family doesn't let family walk into danger alone. Margaret looked at her grandmother, 83 years old, 5 feet of solid will and fierce love. Then at Luis Iraq, veteran loyal to a fault, armed and dangerous when necessary. If we go, Margaret said slowly, we go prepared. Weapons, backup plan, exit strategy. At first sign of trouble, you both leave. No arguments, no heroics. Agreed. Rosa smiled. Agreed. Now let's prepare. They had 3 hours. Luis loaded weapons, hunting rifles, a shotgun, handguns Rosa had kept since her husband's death. Margaret planned approach routes, escape paths, fallback positions. Rosa prepared a go bag, cash, documents, supplies. At 23:15, they loaded into Luis's truck. Margaret rode shotgun. Rosa sat in back with a rifle across her lap like she was going rabbit hunting, not potentially walking into an ambush. The drive took 25 minutes on dirt roads that barely qualified as roads. They approached the coordinates from the south, parking a quarter-mile out. "Stay with the truck," Margaret told Rosa. "Engine running. If you hear gunfire, leave. Don't wait for us." "I'm not leaving you. Abuela, please. I need to know you're safe. That's the only way I can focus." Rosa's jaw was set, but she nodded. 15 minutes. If you're not back in 15 minutes, I'm calling everyone, sheriff, FBI, CNN, everyone. Margaret and Luis moved through darkness toward the mine works. The moon was quarter full, providing just enough light to navigate. They approached from high ground, using night vision Luis had kept from his Iraq deployment. Through the green-tinted display, Margaret could see the mine entrance. 2 figures stood outside. Armed. Professional stance. "Sentries," Luis whispered. "This is organized." They circled, trying to get a better angle. Margaret checked her watch. 23:57. 3 minutes until midnight. At exactly midnight, headlights appeared from the north. A vehicle looked like the same SUVs from this morning. It parked near the mine entrance. Agent Webb got out. "Well," Luis breathed. "Federal agents working with whoever contacted you. This is officially a clusterfuck." Margaret's mind raced. Webb was supposed to be official government. The voice on the phone claiming to be a former colleague. Why would they be working together? Unless Webb wasn't what he claimed. Unless... The thought chilled her. What if Webb wasn't defense intelligence? What if he was something else? Private contractor using official credentials, or worse, actual intelligence but operating off the books. "We're leaving," Margaret said. "Now." They backed away carefully, maintaining visual contact until they reached the truck. Rosa had the engine running, passenger door open. "What happened?" Rosa asked as they scrambled in. "Trap, like Luis said. Let's go." Luis threw the truck into gear, killed the headlights, navigated by moonlight back toward the ranch. They'd gone maybe 2 miles when headlights appeared behind them, coming fast. "They're following," Luis said, accelerating. "Hold on." The truck bounced over rutted roads. Behind them, the SUVs were gaining better vehicles, better drivers, better equipment. Margaret pulled out her phone. "I'm calling the sheriff." "And telling him what?" Luis demanded. "That we were at an abandoned mine in the middle of the night, that federal agents are chasing us. We look like criminals." He was right. Margaret needed a different play. She dialed Samuel instead. "Margaret, it's midnight. What's..." "I need you to make a very loud phone call to every media outlet you know. Tell them there's a story at Redstone Range. Federal agents harassing a veteran. Tell them to send cameras. Now. Within the hour." "What are you planning?" "To be somewhere public when these people catch up to us. Cameras are protection." "On it." Margaret ended the call, gripped the door handle as Luis took a turn too fast. The truck fishtailed, recovered. Behind them, the SUVs matched every maneuver. "They're going to catch us before we reach town," Luis said. "Then we don't go to town. We go to the range. Samuel's meeting us there with media." Luis changed direction, heading east toward Redstone. The range was 20 minutes away. The SUVs were 200 yards back. It was going to be close. Margaret's phone rang. "Webb," she answered on speaker. "What do you want?" "To talk. That's all. Stop running." "You mean the talk involving midnight meetings at abandoned mines pass?" "That wasn't us. Well, I was there, but the others..." He paused. "Margaret, you're in deeper trouble than you realize. Those aren't federal agents behind you. They're contractors. Private security. They want what you know." "I don't know anything." "You know operational protocols, safe houses, contact networks, mission parameters. You're walking classified information, and some people think you're a liability that needs handling." "By handling, you mean killing." "I mean neutralizing." "Could be killing. Could be detention. Could be forcing you to sign NDAs so ironclad you'd go to prison for saying your own name wrong. Stop the truck. Let me help you." "Why would you help me?" Because I'm actual defense intelligence. Those contractors are not. They're being paid by people who don't want certain operations becoming public. Your shot made you visible. Visible is dangerous. Margaret laughed bitterly. So my choice is trust you or trust them. Both options end with me disappeared. No. Option 3 is you go public. Really public. Tell everything. Every mission, every operation, every classified detail. Once it's out, you're worthless as a liability. Can't silence someone who's already talked. That's insane. I'd be prosecuted. Maybe, probably, but you'd be alive. But you'd be, and famous enough that making you disappear would create more problems than it solves. Louise shouted, "Roadblock ahead." Through the windshield, Margaret saw 2 vehicles parked across the road. Men with rifles. Not federal agents. Contractors, like Webb said. "Hang on," Louise said, yanking the wheel. The truck left the road, bounced through scrub brush, nearly rolled, kept moving. Behind them, the SUVs followed. The roadblock broke apart, vehicles pursuing. They were now completely off-road, heading cross-country toward the range. 2 miles to go. The truck wouldn't make it. Too rough terrain, too much damage. "Abandoned vehicle," Margaret said. "We go on foot. Rosa, stay with Luis. I'll draw them away." "No," Rosa said firmly. "We stay together. Abuela. Together. That's final." They hit a wash, the truck's front axle snapping with a sound like a gunshot. Luis managed to bring it to a stop without rolling. "Run," he said. "I'll buy you time." Luis, no. He was already out, rifle in hand, taking position behind the truck. "Go, get to the range. Get those cameras. I'll keep them busy." Margaret grabbed Rosa, pulled her from the truck. They ran through darkness toward lights in the distance, the range maybe a mile away. Behind them, gunfire erupted. Rosa stumbled. Margaret caught her, kept her moving. More gunfire. Single shots, Luis being selective, making every round count. They ran. Margaret's lungs burned. Rosa was slowing despite her best efforts, 83 years pressing hard against adrenaline. Behind them, Luis's rifle had gone silent. Either he'd run out of ammunition or something worse had happened. "Keep moving, Abuela." Margaret gasped. "Almost there." They crested a rise and saw the range below, lights blazing, vehicles in the parking lot. Samuel had come through. News vans were setting up, cameras being unloaded. Headlights swept behind them. The contractors were closing in. "Down," Margaret hissed, pulling Rosa into a depression in the ground. "Stay quiet." An SUV passed within 50 yards, searchlight scanning. Margaret covered Rosa with her body, pressing them both into cold earth. The light swept over their position, paused, moved on. The vehicle continued toward the range. Margaret counted to 60, then pulled Rosa up. "We circle around. Come in from the east where there's cover." They moved slower now, using terrain to stay hidden. Margaret's phone vibrated. Text from Luis. "I'm okay. They're past me. Get to cameras. Public safety." Relief flooded through her. Luis was alive. Another text, this one from Samuel. 3 news crews here. CNN, local NBC, and AP. Rachel Chen showed up too. Whatever you're planning, make it fast. These reporters are asking questions I can't answer. Margaret and Rosa reached the eastern fence line. She found a gap, helped Rosa through, and they approached the main building from behind. Through windows, Margaret could see people inside, reporters, camera operators, Samuel talking with someone official-looking. She pulled out her phone, called Samuel. "I'm coming in the back entrance in 30 seconds. Have cameras ready. I'm going to give them a story." "What story?" "The truth. Or enough of it to keep me alive." She ended the call, took Rosa's hand. "When we go in, stay close to me. No matter what I say, no matter what happens, don't contradict anything. Understand?" Rosa squeezed her hand. "I understand. But Mija, once you talk, you can't take it back." "I know." They entered through the back door. Samuel was waiting, positioned to block anyone from seeing them until Margaret was ready. He looked at Rosa with concern. "Mrs. Chen, are you all right?" "I've had worse nights," Rosa said. "Let's finish this." Samuel led them toward the main room where reporters waited. Margaret could hear voices, questions being shouted. Is it true a veteran is being harassed by federal agents? What's the connection to the viral video? Where is Margaret Sullivan? Samuel pushed open the door. Every camera swung toward them. Lights blazed. Margaret walked into that light like walking into fire, Rosa beside her, both of them disheveled and covered in dirt from running through the night. Rachel Chen stood. Ms. Sullivan. That's me. Are you all right? There are reports of gunfire. I'm fine. My friend Luis Ramirez is fine. My grandmother is fine. We're all fine, despite people trying very hard to make us not fine. A CNN reporter pushed forward. Can you explain what's happening? Why were federal agents at your grandmother's ranch? Margaret took a breath. This was it. The moment she either saved herself or destroyed everything. My name is Margaret Sullivan. I'm 55 years old. I work at Save Mart stocking shelves. I served 12 years in the United States Army as a supply specialist, MOS 92Y. I was honorably discharged 3 years ago. 4 days ago, I competed in a shooting competition and made a difficult shot that went viral. Since then, my life has been turned upside down. Because of the shot, Rachel asked. Because people don't believe a supply clerk could make that shot. They think I'm hiding something. They think I have training I shouldn't have. They think I'm interesting. Are you? Margaret met her eyes. I'm a 55-year-old woman who got lucky once. That's all. A local reporter spoke up. Ms. Sullivan, we've seen your service record. It's remarkably sparse. There are gaps, months where there's no documentation of where you were stationed. There are gaps because military record keeping is terrible. Files get lost, transfers get documented late. It's bureaucracy, not conspiracy. But your shooting ability. I learned to shoot from my grandfather. He was a marksman, taught me as a child. I've been shooting for 47 years. That shot at the competition, I got lucky. Wind was right. Temperature was stable. I made the right adjustments by chance. It happens. Statistical anomaly. Rachel stepped closer. Ms. Sullivan, with respect, I've interviewed dozens of shooting experts since your video went viral. Every single one said that shot was impossible without years of specialized training. Your positioning, your breathing, your technique, all professional level. Then they're wrong, or I'm a natural talent who never pursued it professionally. Either way, I'm not who they think I am. Who do they think you are? Margaret's jaw tightened. Someone important, someone dangerous, someone worth silencing. But I'm none of those things. I'm a grocery clerk who wants to be left alone. Then why are contractors chasing you through the desert at midnight? The CNN reporter held up her phone, showing a message. We received a tip 30 minutes ago from someone claiming federal agents and private security are hunting you, that you're running for your life. Is that true? Yes. The room erupted with questions. Margaret raised her voice. It's true because someone has decided I'm a threat. They've decided that a woman making one difficult shot must have classified knowledge worth protecting. They've harassed my family, shown up at my home, chased me tonight with weapons. And why? Because I embarrassed myself on the internet and then proved I could shoot better than they expected. So you're saying this is all a misunderstanding, Rachel asked. I'm saying this is what happens when people see what they want to see instead of what's actually there. I'm ordinary, boring, not worth anyone's attention. But once you're labeled interesting by the intelligence community, they don't let go. They manufacture reasons to investigate. They create threats where none exist. They justify their budgets by finding enemies, and right now I'm the enemy they've invented. A door banged open. Agent Webb strode in, followed by 2 men in tactical gear. Cameras swung toward them. Webb's face was furious. This interview is over. Ms. Sullivan is wanted for questioning regarding what? Margaret interrupted. What crime have I committed? Shooting at a range, embarrassing myself on video? Or is it the crime of being competent when you expected me to be helpless? Webb pointed at the cameras. Turn those off. This is a matter of national security. Everything's national security with you people, Rosa said, stepping forward. My granddaughter served her country honorably, came home, works an honest job, and you're treating her like a criminal because she can shoot straight. Mrs. Chen, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. You're bullies with badges who don't like when ordinary people show extraordinary ability. Makes you feel less special. The reporters were eating it up, cameras capturing everything. Webb realized he'd walked into a public relations nightmare. Ms. Sullivan, we can discuss this privately. No, Margaret said. We discuss it here, public, recorded, so everyone knows exactly what's happening. You claim I'm hiding classified information. Prove it. Show these reporters evidence of whatever crimes you think I've committed. I don't have to prove anything to. Then you have nothing. You're fishing, hoping to intimidate me into saying something you can twist into justification for whatever you're planning. But it won't work. I know my rights. I know the law. And I know that everything you're doing right now is illegal without a warrant or probable cause. Webb's hand moved toward his weapon. Every camera caught it. He froze, realizing his mistake. Samuel stepped between them. Son, I suggest you leave. You're on private property. You've made threats in front of witnesses and cameras. Unless you want this to become an even bigger story, walk away. Webb's face was stone. This isn't over. Yes, Margaret said quietly. It is. You've lost. The moment you walked into this room, you lost. Because now everyone's watching. Now I'm too visible to disappear quietly. You want to arrest me? Do it. On camera. Explain to these reporters why a grocery clerk is such a threat to national security that you need tactical teams hunting her. Webb stared at her. She stared back, unflinching. He turned and walked out. His team followed. The door slammed. Silence. Then every reporter started shouting questions simultaneously. Margaret held up her hand. I'll answer everything. But first I need to know my friend Luis is safe. Samuel, can you call him? Samuel pulled out his phone, dialed. Put it on speaker. Luis answered immediately. I'm good. Truck's dead, but I'm hiking toward the range. 10 minutes out. Relief visible on Margaret's face. Stay on the line until you get here. She turned back to the reporters. You want the truth? Here it is. I'm nobody special. I was Supply Corps. I learned to shoot from my grandfather. I competed in a tournament and got lucky with one shot. That shot went viral. People decided I must be more than I claimed. Federal agents decided I was interesting. Private contractors decided I was valuable. And suddenly my quiet life exploded because I couldn't miss when everyone expected me to fail. Rachel was taking notes. So you're saying you have no classified training, no covert background. I'm saying my service record is public. You've seen it. Supply specialist, 12 years. Kuwait, Germany, Fort Bragg. Boring assignments doing boring work. If there was anything interesting in my background, someone would have found it by now. But your technique is the result of 47 years of practice. My grandfather was a Marine Scout sniper in Vietnam. He taught me everything. By the time I enlisted, I was already an expert shot. But I didn't join to shoot. I joined to honor my husband who died in Iraq. I wanted to serve like he served. Supply Corps needed people. I qualified. I did my job. End of story. A reporter from the back spoke up. What about the gaps in your service record? What gaps? There are months where your location isn't documented, where there's no record of your assignments. Margaret's heart rate increased, but her face remained calm. Then check with Army HR, file a FOIA request. I'm sure they'll explain it's bureaucratic errors or classified base assignments where documentation is restricted. Restricted why? Because some bases handle sensitive materials. Even supply corps at those bases have restricted documentation. That's standard protocol. It was a gamble. She was betting her cover documentation would hold up under scrutiny. Betting that her grandfather's contacts had done their job backdating medical records and psychological evaluations. Betting that she could outlast the questions. Luis walked through the door, rifle slung over his shoulder. Cameras captured that too, a veteran with a weapon looking like he'd been through war. You okay? Margaret asked. Yeah, they shot up the truck pretty good, but nobody shot at me. I think they were trying to scare us, not kill us. Who were they? No idea. No insignia. No ID. Just armed men in tactical gear acting like they owned the desert. Webb's voice came from the doorway he'd returned, standing just outside, listening. Those men were contractors hired to protect classified assets. Ms. Sullivan is a classified asset whether she admits it or not. Margaret turned. I'm a person, not an asset. And whatever you think I know, I don't. My service was Supply Corps. That's what my record shows. That's what I was. Anything else is in your imagination. Your call sign was Ghost. The room went silent. Margaret's blood froze. Webb had just revealed classified information. Information that shouldn't exist if her file had been properly scrubbed. I don't know what you're talking about, Margaret said carefully. Operation Silent Echo, Afghanistan, 2015 to 2018. You weren't Supply Corps, you were a deep cover asset. Solo operations. High-value target elimination. 63 confirmed. Every camera was recording. Every reporter leaning forward. Rosa's hand found Margaret's squeezing tight. Margaret's mind raced. Webb had just blown her cover completely. But why? Unless understanding hit. Webb wasn't trying to arrest her. He was trying to force her hand, make her confirm or deny. Either way, he won. If she confirmed, she admitted to classified operations. If she denied, he had proof she was lying. Agent Webb, Margaret said slowly, you've just revealed what you claim is classified information to a room full of reporters. That's a federal crime, unless it's not actually classified, unless you're making it up to justify harassment. I'm not making it up. Prove it. Show these cameras your evidence. It's classified. I can't. Convenient. You make accusations you can't prove about operations you can't discuss. That's not evidence. That's conspiracy theory. Rachel was typing furiously. Agent Webb, are you officially stating that Margaret Sullivan was involved in classified operations? Webb's jaw worked. He'd painted himself into a corner. If he confirmed, he'd violated classification protocols. If he denied, he looked like a fool. I'm stating that Ms. Sullivan's background requires additional investigation. That's all. Investigation for what crime? Margaret demanded. Potential security violations. Such as name one specific violation I've committed. Discussing classified information. I haven't discussed anything. You're the one making claims about classified operations. Not me. I've consistently stated I was Supply Corps. You're the one contradicting that. So either I'm right and you're harassing a veteran, or you're right and you just committed multiple felonies by revealing classified operations on camera. Webb's face was turning red. One of his team members whispered something. Webb listened, then looked at Margaret with something like respect. You're good. Better than your file suggested. What file? My Supply Corps file, the only file that exists. He almost smiled. Sure, the only file. He gestured to his team. We're done here. Ms. Sullivan, you've made your point. You're too public to handle quietly. Congratulations. So you're leaving me alone. I'm saying you've created a situation where my options are limited. But understand this, if you ever discuss anything beyond your official cover story, if you ever reveal operational details, if you ever compromise active assets, we'll be back. And cameras won't save you. I have nothing to reveal. I was Supply Corps. Webb nodded slowly. Keep telling yourself that, Ghost. Maybe eventually you'll believe it. He left. For real this time. His team followed. Through the windows, Margaret watched their vehicles drive away. The room erupted with questions again. Margaret held up her hand. I need to make something clear. Agent Webb made serious accusations. Accusations he couldn't prove. Accusations that if true, he had no legal right to reveal. I served 12 years as Supply Corps. That's the truth. My service record documents this. If anyone believes differently, they're welcome to prove it through official channels. But I won't be intimidated by conspiracy theories and harassment. What about the call sign he mentioned? Rachel asked. Ghost. I have no idea what he's talking about. I never had a call sign. I filed paperwork and moved supplies. That's all. But the 63 confirmed what he didn't finish the sentence. He was trying to intimidate me with vague accusations. Classic interrogation technique. Make the subject nervous by implying knowledge you don't have. Louise stepped forward. I served in Iraq. I know what it looks like when federal agents harass veterans. This is it. They're manufacturing a story because Ms. Sullivan made a difficult shot. They can't accept that ordinary people can do extraordinary things occasionally. So they invent secret backgrounds and classified operations to explain away what they don't understand. Samuel nodded. I've been running this range for 18 years. I've seen thousands of shooters. Good ones, bad ones, lucky ones. Margaret made one hell of a shot. Maybe the best I've ever witnessed. But that doesn't mean she's a covert operative. It means she's skilled and got lucky with conditions. That's all. The reporters were buying it. Or enough of them were. Margaret could see doubt in some faces, but also sympathy. She was playing the role well harassed, veteran, confused and frightened, just wanting peace. Her phone buzzed, text from Amy. Mom, I'm watching you on CNN. Are you okay? Please call me. Margaret excused herself, stepped into the hallway, dialed. Amy answered, crying. Mom, they said you were being hunted. They said you might be involved in classified operations. I was so scared. I'm fine, sweetheart. It's all a misunderstanding. Agent Webb was trying to justify harassment by making wild accusations. None of it's true. But he seemed so certain. He's a federal agent who needs to justify his budget. Making me seem dangerous helps him do that. But I'm not dangerous. I'm just your mom, same as always. This is insane. This whole thing is insane. I know. I'm sorry you're caught up in it. Are you still going to Denver? We're packing now. David's freaked out. The kids are asking questions I can't answer. Tell them Grandma made a good shot at a competition, and some people got confused about what it meant. Tell them everything's fine now, because it is. The worst is over. You promise? Margaret looked through the window at reporters still filming at Luis and Rosa, giving interviews at Samuel, fielding questions. This circus would continue for days, but the immediate threat, Webb and his contractors, had been neutralized by publicity. I promise. Go to Denver. Enjoy time with David's parents. I'll call you when this all dies down. I love you, Mom. I love you too, baby. So much. Margaret ended the call, composed herself, returned to the reporters. Rachel approached. Can we do that exclusive interview tomorrow, just you and me? What's left to say? You've got everything on camera. I've got your official story. But I'd like to hear about your grandfather, about learning to shoot, about why you competed, the human story behind the viral moment. Margaret studied her. Rachel seemed genuine, seemed like someone who wanted truth, not sensationalism. Okay, tomorrow, noon, but somewhere neutral, not here. There's a diner in town, Emma's place. Know it? I do. See you there. The media frenzy continued for another hour. Every reporter wanted individual interviews. Margaret gave them all the same story: Supply Corps grandfather's training, lucky shot harassment by overzealous feds. By 03:30, they finally started leaving. Samuel locked the door behind the last one. Well, that was something. Margaret collapsed into a chair. That was survival. Rosa sat beside her. You did good, mija. Handled it perfectly. Did I just buy time before someone digs deeper and finds something I can't explain away? Then we deal with that when it happens. Tonight you survived. That's enough. Luis brought coffee from the break room. The contractors who chased us, they're going to be pissed. You made them look incompetent on national television. Good. Maybe they'll decide I'm more trouble than I'm worth. Or maybe they'll escalate. Come at you harder. Margaret sipped coffee, too tired to care. Let them try. I'm visible now. Too visible to disappear quietly. That was the point. Samuel sat across from her. What Webb said. About Operation Silent Echo. About your call sign. Was any of that true? Margaret met his eyes. My service record is public. You can verify everything yourself. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I can give. He nodded slowly. Fair enough. For what it's worth, I don't care what you did or didn't do. You're a good person who got dragged into a nightmare. If there's anything you need, you've done enough. More than enough. Thank you. Rosa stood. We should go home. All of us need sleep. Home might not be safe, Louise said. If those contractors want another try, then they'll have to go through me, Rosa said firmly. I'm 83 years old. I've buried 2 sons, outlived my husband, and survived the depression. I'm not afraid of men in black trucks. Margaret smiled despite her exhaustion. Abuela, you're terrifying. Damn right. Now let's go. Luis, you're staying at the main house tonight. No arguments. They drove back to the ranch in Samuel's truck. Luis's was still broken down in the desert. The drive was quiet, everyone processing the night's events. At the ranch, Rosa made tea. Nobody wanted it, but everyone drank it. Anyway, the ritual comforting. What happens tomorrow? Luis asked. After your interview with Rachel, I go back to work, resume normal life, let this story die. You think Save Mart will take you back after all this? Margaret hadn't considered that. If they don't, I'll find other work. I'm adaptable. Rosa touched her hand. You can stay here, work the ranch. We always need help. I can't hide here forever. Not hiding, living. There's a difference. Margaret looked around the kitchen. Same table her grandfather had eaten at, same stove Rosa had cooked on for 60 years, same walls that held family history and love and loss. Maybe, she said. Maybe for a while. At 05:00, Luis finally went to bed. Rosa followed. Margaret sat alone in the kitchen watching dawn break through windows. Her phone buzzed. Text from a number she didn't recognize. Well played tonight. You're smarter than your file suggested, but this isn't over. You've made powerful people look foolish. They don't forget. Watch your back. A friend. Margaret deleted the message, turned off her phone, poured another cup of tea. Through the window, she could see the north house where her grandfather had lived, where she'd hidden in the crawl space yesterday. Was it only yesterday? Felt like years. She walked outside, crossed the yard, entered the house, pulled down her grandfather's rifle from above the mantel, held it feeling its weight, its history, its purpose. On the stock, barely visible, were notches, tiny marks her grandfather had carved. She'd never asked what they represented. Didn't need to. Every soldier marks their weapons differently. Every warrior carries their count. She ran her finger over the notches. 63 of them, the same number Webb had claimed. Her phone, still turned off, sat on the table. Next to it, the satellite phone Rosa had given her. She picked up the satellite phone, dialed a number. Secure line. Identify. Ghost. One more thing. Go ahead. Webb knew my call sign, knew operational details. My file was supposed to be scrubbed. It was, completely. Then how did he... She stopped. Understanding hit. There's another file, one you didn't scrub. Silence. Then, above my pay grade, I don't have access to whatever file Webb pulled. Who does? People whose names aren't in directories. People who don't exist in official org charts. People who run operations that don't have names. So they're still out there. Records I can't erase. Operations I can't deny. Yes, and now Webb's revealed their existence. That means someone higher up authorized disclosure. Someone who wanted you exposed. Why? Can't answer that, but Ghost. If someone in the black world wants you visible, it's not because they're done with you. It's because they have plans. Margaret's hand tightened on the phone. What kind of plans? The kind where assets get reactivated, where retirement ends and deployment begins, where you don't get to say no. I'm done. I told you that. I'm out. Nobody's out. Not really. You know that. You've always known that. The line went dead. Margaret set down the phone, looked at her grandfather's rifle, at the notches that matched her own count. He'd come home, built a life, raised a family, lived 60 years in peace after his war ended. But had his war ever really ended? Or had he just stopped fighting it? She didn't have answers. Didn't know if answers existed. What she knew was this: in 12 hours, she'd sit across from Rachel Chen and tell a story. A story about a grocery clerk who got lucky. A story people would believe because they wanted to believe. Because believing the alternative, that America had soldiers like her doing things like she'd done, was too uncomfortable. And after that interview, after the story spread, after the news cycle moved on to the next crisis, what then? Margaret looked at the rising sun, at the ranch spreading before her, at the life her grandmother had built through sheer determination and will. Maybe she'd stay, work the ranch, teach her grandchildren to shoot, not for war, for discipline, for focus, for understanding that power came with responsibility. Or maybe she'd run. Mexico like she'd planned. Disappear into rural mountains where nobody asked questions and nobody cared about viral videos. Or maybe, and this was the possibility that frightened her most, maybe Webb was right. Maybe she was too valuable to waste in retirement. Maybe someone was already planning her next mission, and maybe she didn't get a choice. The sun cleared the mountains. Light spread across the ranch. A new day beginning. Margaret picked up her phone, turned it on. Messages flooded in. Reporters, unknown numbers, Amy calling again. One message stood out. From Derek. Saw you on the news. You're a badass. Whatever really happened in your service, thank you. You've inspired me to be better, to judge less and understand more. Stay safe, Ghost. DT. She almost smiled, then deleted the message. At 10 Hazura, she showered, changed into clean clothes, the same moss green V-neck and camouflage pants she'd worn to the competition. If she was going to tell a story, she'd dress the part. At 11:30, Luis drove her to town. Emma's diner was crowded with early lunch customers. Rachel was already there, sitting in a back booth with just a small voice recorder. Margaret slid into the seat across from her. No cameras. No cameras, just us. You promised me your story. I'm here to listen. Margaret ordered coffee, waited until the waitress left, then looked at Rachel and made a decision. My name is Margaret Sullivan. I'm 55 years old. I work at Save Mart. I was Supply Corps for 12 years. I learned to shoot from my grandfather. 4 days ago, I made a difficult shot that changed everything. Rachel pressed record. Tell me about your grandfather. And Margaret talked. For 2 hours, she told a story. The story of a girl learning to shoot, of a woman honoring her dead husband, of a soldier doing her duty, of a veteran trying to find peace. She told the story people needed to hear, the story that would let her sleep at night, the story that kept her secrets buried where they belonged. And if that story wasn't entirely true, if parts were omitted, if details were adjusted, if whole years were compressed into simple explanations, well, soldiers kept secrets. Warriors protected their families. And sometimes the greatest act of courage was simply surviving with truth, locked tight inside, never speaking, never breaking. Rachel turned off the recorder. Thank you. That's beautiful. Really. When will it run? Tomorrow morning. Front page, hopefully. Human interest piece about a veteran harassed by overzealous feds. Should generate sympathy, shift the narrative. Good. They shook hands. Margaret paid for both their coffees, walked outside into afternoon sun. Luis was waiting. How'd it go? Fine. It's done. All of it. Finally done. They drove back to the ranch. Rosa was on the porch waving. Margaret waved back. And for the first time in 4 days, maybe the first time in years, she felt like she could breathe. Rachel's article hit the Associated Press wire at 06:00 the next morning. Margaret was awake to see it sitting at Rosa's kitchen table with coffee going cold in her hands. The headline read, "Veteran harassed after viral shooting video when excellence becomes suspicion." The article was exactly what Margaret had hoped for. Sympathetic. Human. Focused on a grandmother who'd served her country, lost her husband, and now just wanted peace. It portrayed Webb and his contractors as overzealous feds manufacturing conspiracy theories. It made Margaret sympathetic, relatable, boring. Perfect. By 0800, the story had been picked up by 47 news outlets. By 10 Hedros, it was trending on 3 social media platforms. The narrative was shifting from mysterious sniper with secret past to hardworking veteran wrongly targeted. Margaret's phone rang. Patricia from Save Mart. Margaret, I just read the article. I'm so sorry for what you've been through. Thank you. When would you like to come back to work? Your position is waiting whenever you're ready. Monday, if that works. Monday's perfect. And Margaret, we're proud to have you on our team. What those federal agents did, it's disgraceful. You just want to live your life. After the call ended, Rosa poured fresh coffee. The story's working. People believe it. Most people believe what's easiest. Complicated truths require effort. Simple stories don't. You sound tired. I am tired. I've been tired for 3 years. Tired of hiding. Tired of pretending. Tired of being two people who can't coexist. Rosa sat across from her. Then stop being two people. Be one. Be whoever you need to be moving forward. That's the problem. I don't know who that is anymore. Before Rosa could respond, Luis burst through the door. Turn on the news. CNN. Now. Rosa grabbed the remote. The television flickered to life, showing a press conference. Agent Webb stood at a podium with Department of Defense SEALs behind him. Want to clarify recent events involving Ms. Margaret Sullivan. After thorough investigation, we've determined that Ms. Sullivan's service record is accurate. She served honorably in Supply Corps for 12 years. The video showing her shooting abilities, while impressive, does not indicate classified training. We apologize for any distress our investigation caused. Ms. Sullivan is free from any further inquiry. Thank you. He walked away without taking questions. Reporters shouted after him, but he was gone. Margaret stared at the screen. That's it. That's their retraction. They're covering their asses, Luis said. Your story's getting too much attention. Too many people asking why federal agents were harassing a veteran. They're cutting losses. Margaret's phone exploded with messages. Samuel Derrick reporters wanting comments. She ignored them all except one, Amy. Mom, did you see they apologized? It's over. I saw. You sound like you don't believe it. I don't know what to believe anymore. Mom, you can come home now. Whatever they thought you were, they were wrong. They admitted it publicly. You're safe. Margaret looked at Rosa, who was watching her with knowing eyes. Maybe. We'll see. What does that mean? It means I need time to process everything that happened. Can we talk later? Sure. I love you. Love you too. Margaret ended the call and immediately got another. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Hello? Ghost. The voice from before. Southern accent. Familiar in a way that made her stomach clench. You've done well. Better than we expected. Who is this? Someone who worked with you. Someone who knows what you really did. Someone who's been watching you build this beautiful cover story. I don't know what you're talking about. Of course you don't. Just like you don't know that 63 is a very specific number. Just like you don't know that certain operations in certain mountains were never supposed to be discussed. Just like you don't know that some of us never really retired. Margaret's hand tightened on the phone. What do you want? To meet, face to face. One old colleague to another. I'm not meeting anyone. Even if I can tell you why Webb really backed off, why this whole thing wrapped up so neatly, why you're suddenly safe, I don't care. You should, because the people who pulled Webb's leash, they're not done with you. They're just repositioning. And what comes next, you're not going to like. Threats don't work on me anymore. Not a threat, a warning. Same coordinates as before, the mine. Tonight at midnight. Come alone or don't come at all. Your choice, Ghost. But understand this is your last chance to understand what's really happening before it happens to you. The line went dead. Margaret set down the phone. Rosa and Luis were both staring at her. You're not going, Rosa said flatly. I have to. It's another trap. Maybe. But he's right about one thing, this ended too easily. Webb doesn't back down like that. Something made him stop. I need to know what. Luis grabbed his keys. Then I'm coming with you. No, he said alone. And you're trusting the word of someone who won't identify themselves. I'm trusting my instinct. And my instinct says this person knew me, served with me, knows things only a handful of people should know. Rosa stood. Then at least take precautions. Wear a vest. Carry the satellite phone. Give us a signal system. Something. I'll be careful. That's not the same as safe. Margaret spent the day preparing. She called Samuel, asked to borrow body armor he kept for tactical classes. He brought it over without questions, along with a Glock 19 and 3 magazines. "You know how to use this?" he asked, handing her the pistol. "I'm familiar with the platform." "I bet you are." He studied her face. "Whatever you're planning, be smart. You've survived this long by being smarter than everyone chasing you. Don't stop now." By 23 soldeurs, Margaret was ready. Body armor under a loose jacket, the Glock in a holster at her hip, satellite phone in her pocket, knife in her boot-old habit from operations where backup weapons meant the difference between mission success and body bag. Luis wanted to drive her, but she refused. She took Rosa's old truck instead, drove alone into darkness toward the mine works. The drive took 30 minutes. She parked a quarter-mile out, same as before, and approached on foot. No other vehicles visible. No signs of ambush. Just empty desert and a mine entrance that looked like a wound in the earth. A figure stood at the entrance, alone. Male, average height, dressed in civilian clothes. As she got closer, features resolved in moonlight. She stopped 20 feet away. "Johnson." "Been a while, Ghost." Marcus Johnson, her spotter on 7 missions. The only other operative from Operation Silent Echo who'd survived long enough to retire. She'd thought he was dead, heard rumors of a mission gone wrong in Syria, no body recovered. "You're supposed to be dead," she said. "Lots of people are supposed to be lots of things. You're supposed to be supply corps." "What do you want?" "To help you, to warn you, to give you information you need to survive what's coming." "I'm not in danger anymore." Webb backed off. Johnson laughed, bitter sound that echoed off rocks. Webb backed off because he was told to back off. You think he suddenly developed a conscience, suddenly decided harassment was wrong? No, someone higher up shut him down. Why? Because you're worth more cooperative than detained. Because someone realized forcing you into a corner would just make you fight. And Ghost, nobody wants you fighting. We all remember what happens when you fight. Margaret's hand moved toward her weapon. Careful with your next words. Not a threat, a compliment. You were the best, the absolutely best. Calm under pressure, clinical in execution, zero hesitation. That's why they want you back. Who's they? Same people who ran Silent Echo. Same people who've been running black operations since before you were born. They've got a situation, something that requires your specific skill set. They want to make you an offer. I'm retired. So am I, officially. But here I am carrying messages for people whose names I don't know. Why should I trust anything you say? You disappeared. Faked your death. Let everyone think you were gone. Johnson stepped closer. Margaret raised her weapon. He stopped, hands visible. Syria wasn't fake. I got burned. Asset I was supposed to meet turned out to be triple agent. Set up ambush. 5 hostiles, no backup, me with a sidearm and bad odds. I survived. Barely. But my cover was blown. My face was on jihadi websites. I couldn't come home without leading enemies to American soil. So I stayed dead. Worked off-books contracts for 3 years before finally getting clean enough to risk return. And now you're recruiting for the same people who left you burning. Now I'm trying to keep you from making mistakes I made. They're going to approach you, Ghost. Friendly at first. Offer you consultant work. Good money. Limited engagement. They'll make it sound reasonable. Voluntary. And if I refuse, then they'll make it less voluntary. They'll manufacture situations where you're the only solution. They'll pressure people you love. They'll remind you of oaths you swore and debts you supposedly owe. They'll make refusing more painful than accepting. Margaret's jaw tightened. I won't be manipulated. Everyone says that. Everyone's wrong. These people are professionals at manipulation. They've been doing it for decades. You think you're strong enough to resist? Maybe. But is Amy? Are her kids? Is Rosa? If you threaten my family, I'm not threatening anyone. I'm telling you what's coming. They'll put pressure on everyone around you until cooperation seems like the only way to protect them. That's how they operate. That's how they've always operated. Then I disappear. Really disappear. Mexico, Canada, somewhere they can't reach. Johnson shook his head. There's nowhere they can't reach. I tried. Spent 2 years in Thailand thinking I was safe. They found me in 6 weeks. Gave me a choice: work for them again, or watch everyone from my previous life face consequences. My sister, my niece, people who had nothing to do with my service, so I came back. I cooperate, and I survive. That's not survival, that's slavery. Call it what you want. It's reality. Johnson pulled out an envelope, set it on a rock between them. That's everything I know about what they're planning. Names, operations objectives. Study it. Prepare. Then make your choice with full information. What choice? Cooperate or run. There's no third option. But at least know what you're running from. Margaret approached slowly, picked up the envelope without taking her eyes off Johnson. Why help me? What's in it for you? Maybe I'm tired of watching good soldiers get used up. Maybe I remember when we were partners and you saved my life twice. Maybe I still have enough conscience left to warn someone before they get swallowed by the same machine that ate me. Pick your reason. Or maybe you're part of the trap. Maybe this is all theater to make me trust you. Maybe. You'll have to decide. But Ghost, whatever you choose, do it fast. They're moving pieces into position. You've got maybe 48 hours before the offer comes. After that, the window closes and things get ugly. He turned to leave. Johnson, Margaret called. Those missions we ran, Afghanistan, the targets, were they worth it? Did we make a difference? He stopped, didn't turn around. I don't know. I stopped asking that question when I realized the answer didn't matter. We did what we were told. What it meant, that's above our pay grade. Always has been. He walked into darkness. Margaret heard an engine start, headlights appearing from behind a Ridge vehicle driving away. She was alone with an envelope and choices she didn't want to make. Back at the ranch, Rosa and Luis were waiting. Margaret spread the envelope's contents on the kitchen table. Documents, photos, names she recognized from her operational days. New names she didn't. What is this? Rosa asked. Insurance. Information about people running black operations. Proof that my retirement isn't as permanent as I thought. Luis studied the documents. These are targets. New targets. High-value eliminations. They're planning operations. And according to Johnson, they want me involved. Will you do it? Margaret looked at her grandmother, at Luis, at the life she'd built here. Simple, quiet, safe. No. I'm done killing for governments that disavow my existence. Done being a weapon aimed at problems I don't understand. Done sacrificing pieces of myself for missions that may or may not matter. Then what? Rosa asked. Johnson said running won't work. Running won't, but exposing them might. Luis's eyes widened. You're going to leak this. Make it public. I'm going to give it to journalists I trust. Let them investigate. Let them ask questions. Let them shine light on operations that survive in darkness. Once it's public, I'm worthless as an asset. Can't use someone who's already burned. They'll come after you. Let them. I've been scared for 3 years. Hiding. Pretending. Trying to be small enough to disappear. I'm done with that. If they want to fight, I'll give them one. But on my terms. In public. Where everyone can see. Rosa smiled, fierce expression that showed exactly where Margaret got her strength. Your grandfather would be proud. He always said the bravest thing a soldier could do was refuse orders that violated conscience. He refused orders once, in Vietnam, told his commander that killing civilians wasn't warfare, it was murder. Nearly got court-martialed, but he stood his ground. Said some lines couldn't be crossed regardless of rank or orders. They backed down eventually, transferred him rather than face the scandal of a public trial. Margaret touched the documents. I'm not refusing orders. I'm just choosing which orders to follow. My conscience over their missions. When will you do it? Luis asked. Tomorrow. I'll contact Rachel Chen. Give her copies of everything. Let her verify and publish. By tomorrow night, this will all be public record. And then I face whatever comes. But at least I'll face it standing upright. Not cowering, not hiding, just standing. She slept that night, really slept for the first time in days. No nightmares, no midnight waking, just deep, exhausted sleep of someone who'd made a decision and accepted its consequences. At 0800, she woke to her phone ringing. Unknown number. She answered expecting Johnson or Webb or another player in this endless game. Instead, Ms. Sullivan, this is Secretary Morrison from the Department of Defense. I'm calling to discuss a matter of urgent national security. Margaret sat up. Secretary-level call meant this was serious. Higher than Webb, higher than Black Ops handlers. This was official Pentagon. I'm listening. I understand you've been approached regarding potential contract work. I'm calling to make a different offer. We'd like you to consult on training programs, share your expertise with a new generation of operators. Legitimate work, good pay, completely voluntary. And if I refuse, then you refuse. No pressure, no consequences. But Ms. Sullivan, Margaret, we need people like you. People with real experience, real capability. The world is dangerous and getting more dangerous. Your skills could save lives. My skills have taken lives, 63 of them according to Agent Webb. Silence. Then, Webb exceeded his authority. He's been reprimanded. As for your previous service, it was authorized, legal, and necessary. You did nothing wrong. You served with distinction. Distinction that officially doesn't exist. Officially, no. But those of us who know, we understand what you sacrificed, what you accomplished. We're not asking you to do that again. Just to teach, to train, to help others be as good as you were. Margaret looked at the documents on her bedside table, at the evidence she was planning to leak, at the choice before her. Can I think about it? Of course. Take your time. But Margaret, please understand that this offer is genuine. We're not trying to trap you or manipulate you. We're trying to honor your service by giving you purpose without danger, a way to contribute without sacrificing yourself again. I'll consider it. Thank you. She ended the call, stared at the ceiling, training, teaching, passing on knowledge without pulling triggers. It was tempting, more tempting than she wanted to admit. But it was also a leash, a way to keep her close, to ensure she stayed quiet about what she knew. At 10:00, she called Rachel Chen. Margaret, I'm glad you called. The response to the article has been incredible. Over 2 million reads. People are really connecting with your story. Rachel, I need to give you something. Something that will make that article look like a footnote. But it's dangerous. For you. For me. For everyone involved. Pause. I'm listening. Not on this line. Can you meet me today? Somewhere secure. How secure? Somewhere without cameras, without witnesses, somewhere we can talk freely. That sounds serious. It's the most serious thing I've ever asked anyone to do. But if you publish what I'm going to give you, it'll change how people understand black operations and government overreach. It'll matter. Emma's Diner, back room, noon. I'll make sure we're alone. Margaret arrived at 11:45. The diner was busy with lunch crowd, but Rachel had reserved the back room usually used for private parties, now empty except for a table and 2 chairs. Rachel closed the door behind them. Okay, I'm here. What's this about? Margaret set the envelope on the table. This is documentation about classified operations. Names, dates, targets, methods. Proof that programs like the one I was part of still exist. Still operate. Still use soldiers like disposable assets. Rachel opened the envelope, started reading. Her face went pale. Jesus Christ. Margaret, if this is real, this is Pulitzer level. This is government toppling. It's real. I verified everything. And I'm giving it to you because you'll treat it seriously. You'll investigate before publishing. You'll protect sources. You'll do it right. This will destroy your life. Once this is public, you can't walk it back. Everyone will know who you really were, what you really did. I know. But staying silent means enabling them. Means letting them recruit more soldiers into programs that break people. I can't do that anymore. I won't. Rachel set down the documents. Why now? Why not earlier? Because earlier I was scared. I was trying to survive, trying to protect my daughter from knowing what her mother was capable of. But this week taught me something: hiding doesn't protect anyone. It just delays the inevitable. So I'm choosing exposure over concealment, truth over safety. This will take weeks to verify, maybe months. Take the time you need. But Rachel, be careful. These people don't like exposure. They'll try to stop publication. They'll threaten. They'll offer deals. Don't listen. Have you considered what happens to you after this publishes? Margaret smiled sadly. I'll probably face prosecution, violation of secrecy agreements, disclosure of classified information. I'll likely go to prison. And you're okay with that? No. But I'm okay with accepting consequences for my choices. That's integrity, finally. Rachel carefully collected the documents. I'll start investigating today. And Margaret, thank you for trusting me, for being brave enough to do this. Thank you for being someone worth trusting. Margaret left the diner feeling lighter. The choice was made. The information was out there. Whatever happened next was beyond her control. She drove back to the ranch, told Rosa and Luis what she'd done. Rosa hugged her tightly. Brave and stupid, Rosa said, but mostly brave. Will you be okay when this blows up, when they come asking questions about helping me? Mija, I'm 83 years old. What are they going to do? Arrest a grandmother? Let them try. I'll make them regret it. Luis nodded. Same. I've got nothing to hide. I helped a veteran being harassed. That's not a crime. Margaret's phone rang. Secretary Morrison again. Margaret, I hope you've had time to consider our offer. I have, and I'm declining. Respectfully but firmly. May I ask why? Because I'm done being part of systems that operate in darkness. I'm choosing light, even if it hurts. Long silence. Then, I understand. For what it's worth, I respect your decision. If you change your mind, the offer stands. I won't change my mind, but thank you. The next call came from Amy. Mom, I saw you on CNN again. They're saying you're being offered consulting contracts. That's amazing. You should take it. I'm not taking it, sweetheart. Why not? It's perfect. Good money, legitimate work, respecting your experience. Because it's a leash dressed up as opportunity. Because once I take their money, I'm theirs again. And I'm done being owned. Mom, you're being paranoid. No, honey, I'm being smart. For the first time in years, I'm making choices based on what I believe instead of what's convenient. And I believe I'm done with that world. Then what are you going to do? Come home. To Buffalo. To you and the kids and David. To normal life. To being your mother instead of being Ghost. Amy's voice cracked. You've never called yourself that before. Because I've never admitted who I was before. But I'm done pretending. I was Ghost. I did terrible things for reasons I believed in. Now I'm Margaret. And Margaret is going to spend the rest of her life being present for the people she loves. When are you coming home? Soon. I have one more thing to finish. That evening, Margaret sat on Rosa's porch, watching sunset paint the mountains red and gold. Luis was working in the barn. Rosa was inside making dinner. Her phone buzzed. Text from Derek. Hey, heard you declined the DoD offer. Smart move. Once you're in forever. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. Not as a soldier, as a friend. D. Another text from Samuel. Whatever you're planning, be safe. You've survived this long. Don't get careless now. And one from Johnson. You gave it to a reporter, didn't you, brave? Possibly suicidal, but brave. Watch your 6 Ghost. What comes next won't be subtle. Margaret turned off her phone. Watched darkness spread across the valley. Inside, Rosa called that dinner was ready. She stood, walked inside, sat at the table with her grandmother and Luis. They said Grace Rosa's tradition respected even by those who didn't believe. They ate simple food prepared with love. They talked about ordinary things, whether ranch work, neighbors. For 2 hours, Margaret was just a granddaughter having dinner. Not a soldier, not an operator, not Ghost. Just Margaret. At 22 Huzero, exhausted but content, she walked to the north house. Her phone was still off. The world and its demands couldn't reach her here. She lay down in her grandfather's bed in his house, surrounded by his memory and his strength. And for the first time in 12 years, she didn't dream of mountains or targets or missions gone wrong. She dreamed of her daughter as a child laughing in their backyard. She dreamed of her husband before Iraq, before death, when life was simple and love was uncomplicated. She dreamed of peace. 2 weeks later, Rachel's article hit the Associated Press. Shadow Warriors Inside America's Black Operations Program. 20,000 words. Documented everything. Names, missions, protocols. The world exploded. Congressional hearings announced. Department of Defense investigations launched. 3 senators demanding answers. Public outrage at programs operating without oversight. Margaret's name was everywhere. Margaret Sullivan, age 55. Former Supply Corps. Actually covert operative. 63 confirmed eliminations. Call sign Ghost. The DoD offered immunity in exchange for testimony. She accepted. Spent 6 days in Washington telling Congress everything. Every mission, every target, every order. When it was done, when she'd purged every secret, when there was nothing left to hide, she walked out of the Capitol building into sunlight and cameras and shouted questions. She ignored them all, got in a car, drove to Amy's house in Buffalo. Her daughter opened the door, saw her burst into tears. "I didn't know," Amy said. "I'm so sorry I didn't know. I'm sorry I was angry. I'm sorry I didn't understand." Margaret pulled her into a hug. "You weren't supposed to know. That was the point. I carried the weight so you didn't have to. But you carried it alone for so long. Not alone, never alone. I had your father's memory. I had your grandmother's strength. I had you and the kids giving me reasons to survive every mission and come home." They stood in the doorway crying. Eventually, Emma and Lucas appeared, uncertain but curious. Margaret knelt, pulled them close. "I'm your grandmother," she said. "And I love you more than anything. I made mistakes, kept secrets, hurt people including your mother. But from this moment forward, I'm done with secrets. I'm just Grandma. Is that okay?" Emma nodded. Lucas whispered, "You're famous now. Everyone at school talks about you." "I'm not famous, baby. I'm just ordinary. Everything else is history." She moved in with Amy's family for 3 months while everything settled. Helped with homework, cooked dinners, attended school events, being present in ways she'd never been before. Eventually, she found her own apartment. Small, cheap, perfect. She got a job, not Save Mart, somewhere new where nobody knew her face. She worked, came home, lived quietly. Some nights, old instincts resurfaced. She'd wake at 03:00, heart racing, hand reaching for weapons that weren't there. But Amy would call in the morning, and Emma would video chat about boys, and Lucas would text questions about homework, and the ghosts would fade. 1 year after the article published, Margaret returned to Redstone Range. Samuel was waiting. "Thought I might see you eventually," he said. "I needed to shoot, just to see if I still could. You'll always be able to. It's not something you lose." They walked to lane 23 together. Margaret set up her grandfather's rifle, the same rifle, always the same rifle. Samuel spotted for her. She fired at 1,000 yards, missed by 2 feet, fired again, missed by 4 feet, third shot, missed by 6. Samuel lowered his spotting scope. "You're missing on purpose again." "No," Margaret said, voice carrying absolute certainty and profound relief. "I'm just missing, finally, permanently, gratefully." She packed up the rifle, handed it to Samuel. "Keep this, or sell it, or mount it somewhere as a reminder. I'm done shooting." "You sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything. I was Ghost because I had to be. Because my country asked and I answered. Because I believed it mattered. But that woman, she's gone now. And I don't miss her." Samuel took the rifle. "What will you do instead?" Margaret smiled. "I'm going to be a grandmother. That's all. That's enough." She walked away from Redstone Range for the last time, climbed into her car, and drove toward Buffalo, toward her daughter, toward her grandchildren, toward a life she'd earned through sacrifice and silence, and finally, through the courage to stop being a weapon and become at last simply human. The viral video that started everything still existed online. Millions of views, endless comments. but Margaret never watched it again. She didn't need to remember that shot. She needed to forget it. Needed to leave Ghost in the past, where all ghosts belonged, haunting memory, but never defining future. And as she drove through Wyoming toward home, as mountains gave way to plains and darkness gave way to light, Margaret Sullivan understood something profound. The hardest battles aren't won with rifles at impossible distances. They're won by choosing who you want to be when the shooting finally, mercifully, permanently stops.